Stand up, New York Giants fans. Baddog, what's going on, my man?
What is going on, everybody? It is Chris and the Bad Dog here. Ready for some Giants football.
Excited to be back. Football a week away. Giants football not a week away, but NFL football a week away. Finally got some college football on tonight, so it's really starting to feel like football season. So great news. We're ready to go. Giants, of course, announced their roster. Some practice squad ads. We'll talk about that during the live stream as well. We'll go over the 53-man roster. Just get excited about the upcoming season. Let's talk to everybody in the chat. Cooper in the chat, Clock in the chat, Johnny in the chat, Michael Johnson in the chat, Rafael DeLuna in the chat, Papa Guzzo in the chat, Kelly Fisher in the chat, Entertainer Talking Drugs in the chat. Just started up a channel. I guess he must be specializing in marijuana, perhaps. Bob Wells, what's going on? TPJ in the chat, Eli in the chat, Mike Moran in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. Bad Dog, we talked about it briefly on Patty's channel, but we'll go over it during the live show for people that didn't watch. We'll go over the 53-man roster real quick. I figured I'd pull it up for everybody. I had it real quick before I went live. I got to pull it up again. Here it is.
Drugs. Here's for you.
Smoke weed every day.
Maybe that's what his channel's about. I don't know.
But thank you to everybody for being here. Big Daddy, thank you for being here. Cooper, thank you for being here. Shockers. Not a lot of shockers we talked about. And I think the main, I guess theme, it seemed like that they really hit home with when building this roster this year with the 53-man roster. And we talked about it numerous times with Patty. They really prioritized special teams and something that they clearly should have done based off of last year. We were horrible at that department. That's why Brightwell, you figure, made it over Corbin. That's why a guy like Cam Brown probably made it on the football team over Darian Beavers, perhaps, because of his prowess in special teams, and probably some of the guys that made it in the secondary as well. That's what I think they did with the back end roster. As fans, you're rooting for your guys, but not a whole lot of surprises. The wide receiver, a lot of people thought they'd go with 7. They ended up going with 6. But overall, I think it's the deepest roster, Bad Dog, when you look at it, that we've had since we've been doing YouTube together. That's for damn sure. This is a pretty deep roster.
Absolutely. I look at that linebacker spot and what an improvement over last season. You hope that Ojulari stays healthy, but there was no Akereke there. There was no Isaiah Simmons there. Well, I still think he's going to have a huge year. And, I think that's pretty deep. And obviously our defensive backs, the secondary, we'll see how these rookies play. But the fact that they were able to get the starting positions, that's how well they played in preseason. That bodes well. That's definitely going to give you some depth there when you can move Adoree Jackson to the nickel. So, yeah, man, this is definitely the deepest team the Giants have had in some time. You still worry about the guards. That's still a weak spot, but
it definitely is. That's not saying much because we've been about as deep as a kiddie pool, but it definitely is because you look at this roster, we're deep on the D-line. Like DJ Davidson, a 5th-round pick last year, is our 6th interior defensive lineman, a guy that I didn't even know if he was going to make the roster. Jordan Riley looked like he could get some reps this year the way he looked in preseason. He's our 5th interior defensive lineman. Eshawn Robinson, a former 2nd-round pick. Obviously, he's had a tremendous success from within the league. We know about Leo. We know about Dex, Nacho. So that's a really deep group on this team. The wide receiver group is deep. When you really look at it, Bad Dog, Sterling Shepard last year going into the year, after the fact when we knew what they ended up doing with Kadarius Toney, he was probably our wide receiver 2 going into the year last year. He's now our wide receiver 6. The running back core is deeper for sure, just with the addition of Gray alone. And the DBs, I think, are deeper too. So I just think we're a deeper overall roster. Of course, it all starts up front, and that's going to be the major question mark going into the year. Can the offensive line show signs of growth? Because if it doesn't, this all goes up in smoke anyway. We need to be able to block. We know that.
Oh, without question. That to me, that was the biggest weakness. So it's been a weakness of this team for God knows how long. And it certainly reared its ugly head in the preseason a number of times. But you hope that the starters, can be serviceable. Obviously, JMS is a massive upgrade over Feliciano last year. So, and you
got to figure Evan Neal is a massive upgrade over Evan Neal last year.
Right. Yeah, you hope that Neal makes an improvement, stays healthy. But the offensive line should be better this year. It's still not great. It's still a work in progress. But if they can improve at all, and just be mid-pack with Darren Waller coming over, with the speed of Jalen Hyatt, with the Paris Campbell, with Wandale getting healthy. Yeah, man, the Giants are going to have a lot more deeper plays. And I watched the press conference. I actually reacted to it, did a video on that today. The press conference of Joe Shane, and there was a lot. There's some good questions, some really funny questions, which just like, why the hell would you even ask that question? But he talked about they asked him, about you're going to have deeper plays, you're going to have a bigger play offense, and they're not going to answer that. It depends on week to week. It obviously depends on situations and matchups, but there's definitely going to be times where the Giants are going down the field more with guys like Jalen Hyatt, with guys like Darren Waller. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what they can do on offense. I think the defense is going to be a lot better. I mean, they added Boogie Basham. Also, I don't even know if he showed up on that roster either.
He didn't.
So you add him. They just, I think it's been a great offseason. I think we've upgraded quite a bit. And, I think we're beating Dallas week 1. I really do.
We've been confident in saying that now for a while. I agree with you. I'm not going to guarantee victory or anything like that, but I feel confident. I do. I feel confident going into that game for all the variables I've expressed this entire offseason. And we'll see. I think it's a great barometer for how much this team improved in the offseason, getting to go up against the Cowboys from within the division, see how much we improved. Real quick, we'll go over the 16-man practice squad. Of course, that's been expanded upon, I think, dating back to last year when they had the 17-game schedule. It used to be, I think, 10. Now it's 16, and you could protect 4 week to week. Ryder Anderson made it, the defensive lineman. Tommy DeVito, the Italian stallion. I know a lot of people were hoping that he would be back. He is. We'll see how he develops this year and whether or not he could be the QB2 of the future. Deontay Johnson, inside linebacker. Alex Cook, safety. Ryan Jones, a tight end. So we did end up bringing back a tight end, for the practice squad, something that we both predicted with Patricia. Beavers comes back on the practice squad, so that's good. Hopefully he can get healthier. Of course, coming off the injury from last year, maybe he gets an opportunity to play at some point this year. We snagged Dennis Houston from the Dallas Cowboys, who was an undrafted free agent in 2022. Caleb Hayes, defensive back. Jalen Thomas, a tackle. We bring back Zimenez on the practice squad along with Cole Beasley, who I think it's a lot more to do with an injury. I wouldn't even be shocked if they throw Beasley on the 53 before the year starts, depending on how healthy he may be and how healthy Wandale may be. We'll see. Awarrior, the veteran DB, comes back along with Tywan Jones, a 35-year-old running back. Does have ties back with the Buffalo Bills, so it makes sense there. Then Timon Fox. Jalen Mayfield was at least somewhat intriguing. He hasn't been very good since he's been in the league, but he's a former third-round pick in 2021. He's got some versatility on the offensive line. He's played multiple positions. And we bring back Tyree Jackson, who I think was kind of a mild surprise by most Giants fans when we decided not to roster him, because he actually looked adequate last year when thrown in there when we had, I think it was when Evan Neal got hurt. He got some playing time. So that's the practice squad. We'll see if the New York Giants make any more moves before the start of the year, but any takeaways from that?
No, I mean, I'm glad that we got some of those guys back. I don't know. Again, I don't know how healthy Beavers is. I think that, Tommy DeVito is a nice story. I didn't know who might take a shot at him or not. I'm glad we got him back because I do think he'll be our backup next year. You're not going to pay. I don't think the Giants will go out of their way to pay a backup quarterback. What did we pay Tyrod Taylor? $12 million, $14 million?
$6 million a year. Yeah.
So $12 million for 2 years. And Tyrod's a good quarterback, a really good backup. But, if you can spend that money elsewhere and just, go with DeVito, who's a, undrafted guy, you're not paying him any money. So you can obviously stick that in other positions. They want to look at, re-signing Xavier McKinney, which Joe Shane reiterated. They're not doing that till after the year. He said, I'll never say never, but he said, that's between him and I. I'm not going to talk about the contract or whatever. So obviously they're going to wait till the end of the year with him. But to me, that they asked him, sometimes you like to get things done in the middle of the year. Sometimes you like to wait till the end of the year. It would not surprise me if they try to, depending on what Saquon Barkley does, if they try to negotiate something with him.
I agree.
So I think that's definitely in the works. But you're going to save a lot of money when Tyrod's not on here and you're not paying a backup $12 million. So I'm glad we got him back. I'm definitely a fan of Beavers. You guys know that. I'm rooting for him. He looked a little bit slow. There's no question. Again, I don't know how healthy he is. So, yeah, I don't think there's a ton of surprises there coming back. Ryder Anderson. I don't know, man. Hopefully, we don't need those guys, Chris.
Exactly. That's your hope. We don't even want to see the 40 to 53 guys play, let alone the guys on the practice squad.
Right back. I'm just gonna put the fan in the window because it's hot.
Some intriguing guys, at least, that they brought back. And Raphael says, thoughts on Jets players and fans talking trash. Thank you very much, Raphael. I appreciate it. Listen, at the end of the day, let them talk trash. You know what? The last time the Jets ran their mouths, Raphael, and people bring this up in my streams all the time lately because the Jets have been getting a lot of attention, due in large part to the fact they're a good team, for sure. They added Aaron Rodgers. They're on Hard Knocks. I get it. They're the toast of the town. They're the darlings of the media. I love it. I want the Jets to talk smack. I want the Jets to get the back page because Baddog, the last time the Jets talked smack, the last time the Jets took over the back pages, we won the damn Super Bowl. So for me, that takes pressure off of Daniel Jones. That takes pressure off this franchise. By all means, make the New York Jets the toast of the town, and we'll wait in the weeds. That's my outlook on it.
The Jets will jet, people. That's what they do. That was a question that I think somebody, I didn't know who it was, and somebody in the comment section said it's Jordan Renan, so it didn't surprise me. He kind of asked. He says to Joe Shane, he's like, "What is it like to share the city with the Jets? As a first-time GM, what is it like to share the city with the Jets?" And I paused. I'm like, "What the hell is he talking about?" He's like, "He shared the damn stadium with them last year. They just didn't play it." And that's exactly what Joe Shane said. He says, "I was here last year, shared the thing with them." And I'm like, what the hell kind of question is that? Who gives a damn about the Jets?
That's the second time they asked that question, just in a different way. They asked Daniel Jones, what is it like? Do you feel more pressure sharing the city with Aaron Rodgers? As if Daniel Jones gives two craps about what Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are doing.
That's what Shane said. He goes, we'll worry about our own situation. We take care of ourselves. I can't really worry about what other teams are doing.
We're about the Jets week 8. That's when we're concerned with the Jets. Week 8. That's it.
29th. That's it. What about them then? I don't care. Good. I hope the Jets do good. I got no issues with the Jets. Yeah. But let's talk their crap. I mean, that's a franchise that hasn't done crap since Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. So who gives a damn?
At the end of the day, I get it. You should be excited if you're a Jet fan. You added Aaron Rodgers. You have a good all-around team. You feel like you're a quarterback away. But at the end of the day, you guys have the longest playoff drought in all 4 major sports in North America. You haven't made the playoffs in 12 or 13 years. Zip it. Until you produce results, zip it.
I don't even know where they go with the Giants anyway. Go with the Bills. Go with the Dolphins. Go with the Patriots. Those are your rivals. We're not rivals.
Yeah.
I don't care about Dallas. I care about Philadelphia. I care about Washington.
Mark, man, thank you very much. Talking about the entertainer talking drugs. I've never had a gummy yet, Mark. I know they're legal. I've never had a gummy. I may have to partake one of these days. I've never had one.
Gummy bears.
I've had legitimate gummy bears. I haven't had the gummies he's talking about. And John says, "Sup guys, can't wait for week 1, but week 8 Giants will put Rodgers in his place. Eli is to go to New York. Rodgers just arrived, hasn't done jack." Listen, John, stop. Can we stop? Can we stop with this? Eli Manning, you can't even compare in terms of the impact in New York. Eli Manning and Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if Aaron Rodgers wins 2 Super Bowls with the Jets. Eli Manning played his entire career here, start to finish. He's a New York legend, so it's silliness. We'll see. I'll see. I'm excited to see what Rodgers could do this year for the Jets, but no, not even in the same stratosphere.
I'll just say this, and I talked about this in the Super Friends stream last night when, LB's like, they got Aaron Rodgers. The Jets got Aaron Rodgers. Giants didn't win in that game. We beat Aaron Rodgers last year. How short of a memory do we have here? They beat Aaron Rodgers last year in London. They were up 17-3. We came back and won. So they've already beat Aaron Rodgers.
We also beat Aaron Rodgers in 2011 when he had a much better football team at home in the frozen tundra in the playoffs when they were the number 1 seed. So it's not like we don't have a good history against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but I'm saying we beat him last year. I mean,
we beat him last year.
We're another team this year.
And Brad says, "I'm sad we couldn't find a waiver offensive tackle to replace Parrott. Pray they stay healthy." I mean, I knew that, Brad. I knew that Parrott was going to be the swing tackle. It was pretty obvious, unless they were going to make a trade. But I mean, Parrott's been practicing all year. I'm not at all. Do I want to see Matt Parrott? He looked pretty good, I thought, in the second preseason game. The third preseason game, not so much. But hopefully he never sees the field. We know he's not the long-term answer, and that's definitely a position we need to continue to address in the draft in terms of depth. Obviously, we think we have our 2 starters, but I wouldn't be upset at all if Joe Shane next year drafts a swing tackle in the 3rd or 4th round. But You look around the league, there's not a lot of good swing tackles. There's a reason tackles get paid the amount that they do, because it's few and far between that you find quality at that position. And when you find a really good one, you make sure you hang on to the guys. So it is what it is. There's plenty of teams around the league that don't have the best of swing tackles. We got to hope that Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas stay healthy and Matt Barrett does not see the football field, because we all know he's not a very good football player.
Yeah, no question.
Bill, man, thank you so much, man, for the incredible job. Bill's the man, dude. Thank you so much, man. By the way, Bill, I did order the new wire. I think it said September 2nd. I'm supposed to be getting it. So I will be getting it before the start of the regular season. So hopefully my mic stops crapping out here and there. But thank you very much, man. More excited about this year than any in the last decade. Yeah. Well, to be fair, Bill, I'd say it's on par with 2017. Now, I think the overall direction of this team is more exciting. So I'm probably more excited about this team because it's youth. We didn't hire a bunch of free agents when we catapulted ourselves into the playoffs at 11-5, but it was a bunch of guys that we paid a lot of money. It wasn't built from within. And obviously I have a lot more confidence in Brian Dable than I did with Ben McAdoo, even though they did go 11-5 in his first year. He inherited a pretty good football team when you look at all the free agents that we picked up. So I think Dable's a better coach than McAdoo was. So I have a lot more confidence long-term. So I will agree in the sense that I think I'm more excited about this team overall. But 2017, I'd be lying, Bad Dog, if I said going into that year, coming off the year we had, adding Brandon Marshall, adding Evan Ingram, obviously it wasn't a good pick, but adding the firepower with the defense that we already had in place in 2016, I'd be lying if I didn't go into that season excited and thought that we may be able to do damage going into the playoffs. Of course, everything, exploded and went up in flames, but I don't think that'll happen here.
Yeah, that was the beginning of a downward spiral, 2017. But yeah, I was excited about it too. It was the first time the Giants have been in the playoffs in 5 years. And, you were thinking they were a pretty good team. The defense became really good. And you're like, oh, you're going to add a couple weapons, Eli Manning. And you just thought the offense could be really, really good. And it really, really was not. And the team was not. Of course, Beckham got hurt, and that did not help matters. Joe Schoen did mention today, in the press conference that the Giants, I believe, are the second youngest team in the league. They have so many guys that are 25, 26 years old. That's a good reason for you to be optimistic about the future, because not only is our GM, our front office young, coaching staff young. Well, Wink's not the youngest guy anymore, but Wink is the man. But our players are young, and it's a good young core of players. And you got your core. You got your Sexy Dexy. You got your Andrew Thomas. You got your Daniel Jones. You got them all signed up. By the way, working on some Daniel Jones merch. You guys are going to want to purchase it. I'm telling you that the merch that I'm coming out with this year is fire. You know what? You want to get? I can't wait for it to come out. It's going to be fire, baby. Fire. I can't wait.
Jolly, what's up, Harrison? He says, "What's up, you goats? Thoughts on Hyatt rocking 13?" I don't. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I don't. It's not a retired number. It's not going to be a retired number. That's one of the things I really respect about the New York Giants when it comes to numbers. They don't hand them out like candy in terms of retired numbers. We've talked about that in the past with the New York Yankees, how they've kind of gotten to that point. The Mets are starting to get to that point. They used to be very strict. Now they're giving them out to Kuzman and Keith Hernandez. The Yankees, of course, gave it out to Paul O'Neill, Jorge Posada. Very good players, great Yankees. But I view a retired number as sacred, and I think the Giants have done a good job with that. Sims in the Super Bowl era, Sims, Eli, LT, and Strand, and that's it. So that number's not going to be retired. Odell's number will not be retired. So I know there's no problem with that. Let him go out there, and hopefully he rocks it as good as Odell did. I'm excited to see Hyatt this year for sure.
Absolutely. That's why you don't ever buy jerseys during the preseason, because they change their numbers. Odell will never be as good as he was. He didn't win anything here. He never won a playoff game. The guys that, Chris mentioned, even though they weren't like Hall of Fame Yankees, like O'Neill's not a Hall of Famer, he was a great player, but they won championships. And that's usually when you get, like, if the Knicks ever won championships in the 90s, I had a feeling Oakley and Starks' jerseys would have been retired too.
Probably.
So, yeah, I mean, I get it. But the Giants do take that very seriously. Don't just retire numbers. Like, I thought Carl Banks' number was retired. It's not. He's one of the better Giants for sure. Also a guy that belongs in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, Tiki's number is not retired. Right. So there's a lot of guys that, Eli Strahan, LT Sims. Like,
that's it. In the Super Bowl era, that's it. So they're strict. So don't expect any numbers to get retired soon. That's I love it. I think that's the way it should be. Mark, man, thank you very much, man. Leo in a contract year, so will kick butt. I've been calling for that now for 2 or 3 months. People have asked me who's your breakout player in the Giants, and I've said it's a 29-year-old interior defensive lineman. Normally, you think young when you say that. I think Leo Williams is being forgotten about by a lot of this fan base. I think a lot of people are and I understand it. They're excited about Kayvon. They're excited about Sexy Dexy. They're excited about Bobby Okereke. They're excited about Isaiah Simmons, the new acquisitions, the younger players that are up and coming. But Leonard Williams is still a damn good football player. And when you factor in the improved depth around him, the pass rush, which should be improved with Azeez now back and healthy, that's less attention on Leonard Williams. He's a damn good football player. Like you said, he's in a contract year. I think Leo's going to eat this year. I really do. I think this will be his last year as a Giant because I think he's going to get a good contract somewhere else. But I expect Leonard Williams to perform well this year. I'm excited to see him out on the football field, Mark. No doubt about it.
Yeah, somebody asked Shane about that today about, because Shane was talking about, being able to maneuver money and doing a lot of things because they asked him, from last year to this year, he's like, oh, yeah, a little bit more cap flexibility. And, that's what we look at. And a lot of stuff, going forward. But they asked him about Leo and if he was going to renegotiate or anything. He said no. Oh, it was just a plain, nope, not touching that contract.
I mean, Baddog, let's be real. If you were Leo, why would you? At the end of the day, he's still only going to be 30 next year. And look at the interior defensive line market. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, nope.
Dalvin Thomas got $16 million a year last year.
Yeah. Leo might go back to the Jets. Who knows, right? Yeah. You have Quinn and Leo. You have the Williams brothers. I like Leo. I think Leo could definitely eat this year. He battled through some, he wasn't completely healthy. I think he missed one game. But he dealt with a neck injury, neck issue last year. But him and Dexter Lawrence, man, they're going to be fresh at the end of the game because you've added Nacho, you've added Boogie Basham, you've added Ashawn. So at the end of the game, they're not going to be playing 80, 90% of the snaps. They might play 65% of the snaps. But that's going to help them at the end of the game when you need that pass rush up the middle, And this defense, the Giants got – and I mentioned this in the video today, they got younger, they got faster, and they got more athletic, all in the same offseason. Adding Isaiah Simmons,
I mean,
it's just insane. Yeah, it's just crazy. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Listen, I will do a schedule video, but I did, we always go over the schedules on Super Friends, and I have us winning week
1. I do too. I really think we're going to win that game. Court, man, thank you very much, man. Pick the game that the New York Giants should win but may lose, and the game that they should lose but may win. I got them beating San Francisco on the road and losing to Washington at home. Court, man, thank you so much for the incredible generosity. I appreciate it. Listen, San Francisco's not a bad pick. I'm not picking that. I don't like the way that we match up against the 49ers, but I wouldn't be shocked that, obviously, word is that Purdy hasn't looked so hot. Maybe year 2 when there's more film on him, maybe a guy like Wink can create some confusion for Brock Purdy and create a couple of, turnovers, and the New York Giants can capitalize on that. So I wouldn't be blown away if we won that game. I'm not picking it, though. I think the 49ers just are not a good matchup for us. They have tons of good weapons on that team. They're really strong in the trenches, and they got a great play caller, too. And it's on short rest, right? It's on Thursday Night Football. We're traveling. Even though we're staying on the West Coast, it's still traveling. So I'm not in love with that game. If I was going to, I've said it countless times and I'm sticking with it. Not only do I think we can win it, it's my shocker. I think we're going to win it. I'm picking us to beat the Buffalo Bills for things that I've said. I'm not as high on the Buffalo Bills this year as I've been in the past, but the main reason is the same reason why we beat the Ravens last year. Familiarity, right? Nobody knew Lamar Jackson and that offense better than Wink Martindale, who went up against him every single day in practice. Nobody knows Josh Allen better than Brian Dable. Nobody knows those players on that Buffalo team better than Joe Shane that's outside of the Buffalo Bills organization. So the familiarity factor, if you're asking me to pick an upset this year, a stunner, it's the New York Giants over the Buffalo Bills. If you're asking me to pick a game where maybe it's a shocking loss, and I don't want to pick this, and I'm not necessarily predicting us to lose this game, I'm going to pick the Patriots, the game before the bye. Maybe you ease off a little bit. Maybe you're thinking about the bye, and you take Bill Belichick and the Patriots a little bit for granted. So those would be my 2 picks. Baddog, go ahead.
So a game that the Giants should win but may lose. So I did this. I again during the stream last night talking about the schedule. I said there's always one game during the regular season where it seems like the Giants should win and they lose. Now the Lions ended up being really good.
Yeah.
towards the end of the year. But that was the game where I'm like, that's a game that we probably should have won. But the Lions are playing really good, one of the best teams in football at the end of the year. So it didn't end up as bad. But that was a game you look at the schedule and go, that's a game the Giants should win.
Right.
Funny how a lot of the games we thought we should win, those teams ended up being good and vice versa. But the one I'm going to take, New Orleans. Like in New Orleans, Derek Carr, Michael Thomas, Kamara, Chris Olave. We always play really crappy in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And the very next week we play Philadelphia. So it's very possible that the Giants are overlooking the Saints and take them too lightly and end up losing. And in the same token, the next week in Philly, that is my pick. Christmas miracle. The Giants are going to beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia for the first time in 8 seasons. We're going to do it. I'm telling you. I've been a good boy. I don't ask Santa for much. I'm sick and tired of the miracle in the Meadowlands, a miracle in the Meadowlands too, blah, 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 blah. It's our miracle this year, Giants fans. That's the game I'm picking that we should lose, and we're going to win. Right there.
I love it. Hey, you never know. And because it's so late in the year, it's completely unpredictable as to what those teams are going to look like. You don't know how healthy the Eagles or we are going to be going into that game. So we'll see as the game gets closer. But I'm excited for that. If we could ever knock off the Eagles, man, forget about it. Neil says, Tana, Baddog, my guys, I've been hearing a lot of talk of how the Washington has the best trio in the division. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson. I'd argue that we have a better and more important trio. Dable, Kafka, and well, listen, Neil, when you include coaching, coaching goes a long way. So Dable is a major upgrade, especially when you're talking from an offensive standpoint over, obviously, a guy that was known to be a defensive coordinator while he was with the Chargers and Ron Rivera. So when you factor in the coaching to the offense, that makes a difference. There's no doubt about it. In terms of their weapons, the best trio, I mean, if you're including tight ends, I think you still have to go with the Eagles, right, Baddog? I mean, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and they have, one of the better tight ends in the league in Goddard. So if you're including the tight end, I think that's the best trio. But if you're thinking outside of the box, I think our trio's on par with theirs, if I'm being honest. Saquon Barkley, who's an incredible weapon. Darren Waller, who's an incredible weapon. And you pick the wide receiver, whether it's Darius Slayton or whether it's you name it, whoever you think is our most feared wide receiver. But when you're talking about the 3 best overall weapons on the team, I think our top 3 is on par with Washington, no doubt about it.
Listen, man, Washington's got it'll be interesting with Washington for the simple fact that they have a rookie quarterback. And again, I keep we had our guy Louis T. I think Louis T was a little delirious or something. He happened to mention that Sam Howell is a lot like Pat Mahomes, and you just got to laugh at that. I don't know what the hell that means. I see they do. Yeah, that was pretty much our reaction. That was a great stream. That was fun. But yeah, listen. I don't think Sam Howell is going to be that good personally. So they're going to have great weapons. I mean, listen, we had great weapons in 2016, and the offense was not very good in 2016. Our defense carried us, and we had a weak schedule, run a lot of close games, but we had good weapons. We had Odell Beckham then. We had Sterling Shepard. So I mean, there was good weapons, and we had a good quarterback, but we had no line. And I'm not saying Washington's line is. I don't really know what their line is.
Not great.
But thinking Sam Howell against a very tough schedule, a rookie, I don't think it matters what their weapons are. You got to get have the guy get them the ball. So, if there's a trio in this division, it's probably the Eagles. I mean,
it's got to be. It's got to be the Eagles.
They're damn good.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a top probably 2 top 10 receivers, if not top 15 in the entire league, and a top 6 tight end, 7 tight end. Like, that's pretty good, and an incredible offensive line to go with it. Chef, man, thank you very much, man. He says Hattie is going to body slam Aaron Rodgers. We will win the Super Bowl. Never been more confident in this team since 2007. I love the confidence, Chef. I still haven't gotten an opportunity to watch Hard Knocks. I'll probably actually watch it tonight before I go to bed. I'm really interested in this episode, obviously, due to the fact with the sound bites about the Giants, because the Jets played the Giants. I did see some clips on Twitter about Aaron Rodgers basically disrespecting Hattie. I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully that provides more motivation for him when we go up against the Jets week number 8. So it is what it is. But yeah, I found those comments funny. Hattie's definitely one of One of my favorite players on this team. He's certainly got a good personality.
Aaron Rodgers, man, what a punk. I expect Kayvon Thibodeau to be doing Snow Angels next to him.
Yeah, that'd be
nice. Isaiah Simmons will get him this time too. Trust me when I tell you. Wink Martindale going to dial it up. And listen, Aaron Rodgers is going to take a beating in that game. That'll be a good one. The Jets and Giants should be a good one. Let's hope that they both don't disappoint, because that's happened too, where there's a lot of hype on both teams and they both suck.
That game's going to be electric. That game's going to be electric. And the Jets do not have a great offensive line. So I agree with you. I think our pass rush could definitely cause some trouble for the New York Jets in that game. I'm looking forward to that one.
Now, the only thing, listen, we got Aaron Rodgers last year too, and the defense wasn't nearly as good as it is this year. The second half, the Giants shut them completely down. So
I'm looking forward to it. Jake says, this is the Giants stadium. The Jets just borrow it. We need our own stadium, to be honest with you. I'm sick of it.
We have our own stadium. The Jets need their own stadium.
Exactly. They need to get the hell out, get their own spot.
How about Aaron Rodgers calling it Jet Life Stadium? How about that one?
Oh, God. Did he say? I didn't even hear that. He said that?
Yeah, Jet Life Stadium.
Oh, my God.
I sort of went on and asked the question, but give me a break. The Jets haven't won jack squat in 50-some-odd years. I'm sorry. Yeah, 54 years.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah, come on. I love Joe Namath. Don't get me wrong. If you love football or pimps, Joe's your guy, right? Joe's the man. I love Joe Namath. But, the Jets got to win something. And Aaron Rodgers coming here and talking all this crap. Bro, you just got here. What are you doing?
You know as well as I do, Bad Dog. Right now, Aaron Rodgers is the toast of the town. And I get it. He's one of the top 5 most talented quarterbacks who ever lived. I get it. He's the toast of the town. The Jets haven't been in the playoffs since I was born. It's been a long time. He comes in. They feel like they're a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. But if things go bottom up, Aaron Rodgers is going to be flamed by the New York media. So we'll see how it plays out.
Jets, listen, the Jets have drafted really bad when it comes to quarterbacks. The best draft pick they've had, Chad Pennington, is the guy that I remember. He was good. I like Chad Pennington.
Quarterback.
Let's go to the list. Mark Sanchez, top 5 trash. Sam Darnold, top 5 trash.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson, top 5. We got to go out.
Oh, my God. Did it.
So there you go. There's their last 3 quarterbacks they drafted, all in the top 5, mind you. And let's go back a few years and look at all the quarterbacks they poached from other teams that were successful. Neil O'Donnell, Steelers, trash. Boomer Esiason, Bengals, trash. Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers, trash. Do you see a pattern?
Well, it's why the Jets.
I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be trash, but win something before you proclaim it Jet Life Stadium, my friend. Do something.
Hot Nickel says, what's going on, guys? Love our front office and coaching staff. We're on our way to some good Giants football. Let's go, Giants. Stand up. Can't wait, man. And yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to love what our front office is doing. They've been cautiously aggressive, if that term makes sense. They have not gone above and beyond in terms of draft capital that they've given up for these players. They gave up a late 3rd for Waller. They gave up a 6th or a 7th, I should say, for Simmons, and a late pick swap in 2025, where I think it's a 7th for a 6th for Boogie. So they haven't given up much. They've brought in guys on 1-year contracts, but they've improved the now, but they're still building towards the future. So, and of course, the smart thinking ahead in terms of the extension of Andrew Thomas, the extension of Dexter Lawrence, the Daniel Jones deal. I think people that are laughing at that will not be laughing after next year when you see the quarterback market continue to accelerate. So, and the way that they handled the Saquon Barkley situation was great. I mean, if you're judging it from the front office and the general manager, they didn't get pushed around by the media, by a wide portion of this fan base. They did what they felt was right for this football team. So you got to love it, man, though. You got to love the job that Joe Shane and Brown and everybody else in this New York Giants front office has done this offseason.
Really, Patty, I wonder if Patty told him today how big of a fan we were, because she asked him a couple questions. So I'm wondering if she said she was going to talk to him, tell him, how big of fans are. And I'm sure he's going to say, who the hell are those? But huge fan of the front office. And I just, again, this is why I'm so excited, not just for this year, but the future. They have a clear, concise direction. Somebody did ask him a good question today. They asked him pretty much, you guys, a lot of people feel like you accelerated the process and you probably took a bigger step forward than a lot of people thought you would. And he said, does your accelerated progress, did that change kind of the way you approach this offseason? I thought that was a really good question.
Yeah.
And he pretty much said, that's what he talked about, like having more flexibility with the cap and a lot of other stuff. And he said, but we have a direction that we're, pretty much we have a direction going and we know what we want to build here. And, he didn't really say that, one thing led to another. But he did say, we have our quarterback locked up. We have the defensive tackle locked up. We have the left tackle locked up. So you can obviously look in other directions now. You don't need to worry about them because they're set.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, you could argue, 3 of the top 5 most important positions?
Yep.
Dexter Lawrence is a pass rusher. Obviously the quarterback and obviously the blindside protector. 3 of the 4 most important positions. So, and you got Deonte Banks, who you hope will be a core piece at one of the top 4 most
Trey Hawkins.
Yeah, same thing with Hawkins. Obviously, you hope that Hyatt develops into something. I think that they'll spend more resources next year in terms of improving the weaponry. I think they'll continue to improve the depth on the offensive line. There's a clear direction with this team. You got to love it.
Yeah.
John, what's going on, my man? He says, my guys, you all are the best. We all have to be careful, even me as an Eagle fan. Anything can happen with the NFC, and Dak underachieving, y'all will be good. John started. I don't like this side of John, Baddog. I don't like this side of John because John, the last couple of weeks, before the last couple of weeks, he was killing the Giants. He said, you guys are going to stink. You guys are going to suck. Now
reality's setting in.
Now I feel like he's trying to jinx us a little bit.
No, reality's setting in.
You think reality's setting in? It should be.
Now that it's here, I think reality's setting in. Plus, he hates Dallas. He wants us to kick Dallas's ass. The Philadelphia fans are definitely on our side week 1. There is no question. Because listen, and I'll be honest, Philadelphia fans ain't worried about the Giants. And why would they be? They have owned us for God knows how long. So they disregard us. That's understandable. I don't take it as a sign of disrespect. If you do, we have to go out and beat them. They know that their main, competition in this division for years has been Dallas. So if the Giants can do them a favor and give them an L, now if the Giants start beating Philadelphia and the Giants become that team where we're 12,
John's gonna hate us.
Then they're gonna start going the other way and go, you guys got Dallas got to beat the Giants.
John's gonna hate us real soon if that starts happening.
But
by the way, man, we got over 800 people in here on a night where there's no real news. We're getting closer to the start of the regular season. So people are pumped up. We love you guys. Thank you to everybody for being here. If you haven't done so, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. Most importantly, you're going to go over to Bad Dogs because that's where we're going to be week number 1, Sunday night football under the lights going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Come on.
Yeah. Who ain't ready for that? Who ain't ready? I'm ready. Let's go. Oh, wait till I'm telling you, it's gonna be a little old school Bad Dog in that one. I really want to talk some trash to Dallas. I don't like Dallas. I don't like Dallas. I know Philadelphia gets the brunt of it. I like to poke fun at Philadelphia. I hate the Eagles. Hey, there's no question. I hate the Eagles. But I hate Dallas too. I hate Dallas. And it's about time they knew why I hated them and how much I hate them. And we're going to kick their ass on September 10th. Let's go.
We owe Dak a whooping. Imp says, hey, Jets fans, guess what? When Rodgers goes in the hole, he will be wearing green. That's a fact. That's a fact. He ain't wearing jet green. That's for damn sure. But if you're a Jet fan, Imp, if you're being fair, what do you care if he helps you win a Super Bowl? They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1969. So that's all they're thinking about. So they don't really care about that. But of course, he's going to the Packer. He ain't going as a Jet.
I'll be honest. I don't even think they're going to win the division.
No, I agree with you. But if he helps them win a Super Bowl, all they care about is if he helps them win a Super Bowl.
The Jets are maybe the 5th best team in the AFC.
Probably.
I think they're 5th. Maybe 4th.
Well, let's go over the teams that are definitely better.
Chiefs, definitely.
I think you have to say going in
the Bengals are better.
Bengals.
The Bills.
Bills, you have to say going in at least. So that's 3. And I think you could at least argue the Ravens with some of the upgrades that they made. I think that you could make that argument. And then, after that, they're right in the discussion. They're in the discussion with the Ravens, as a matter of fact. But
Jaguars might have a better record than them.
Jaguars could be dangerous this year. Trevor Lawrence year 2 in that system.
And the AFC South is that's not very good.
Yeah. Oh no, the Jaguars are going to win at least 11 games. They're going to beat up.
The Jaguars could sweep that division.
Yeah, they'll beat up on that division.
Not to mention the Dolphins are really. I think I had the Dolphins beating every team in the NFC East when I did those predictions last night.
The Dolphins are dangerous, man. They were good last year before Tua
It
got hurt.
depends on the health of Tua, obviously. If Tua's hurt, it's a way different team.
Of course.
But if he's healthy, and he certainly isn't very muscular this year, so maybe that'll help him. Ryan Clark said it looked like he was working out at the kitchen table, and Tua got pissed. He told him to keep running around. Listen, I don't like Ryan Clark. He's a clown, as everybody is on the mainstream media. They're just clowns, all of them. Every single one of them. They all suck. And I'd like to thank them for bringing people to the real deal here on YouTube, not just Chris and I, but all the content creators for all the teams, because we give it to you the way it's supposed to be, as a fan's perspective, as guys and girls that watch their team and know the ins and outs of their team. And yeah, we make some ridiculous takes sometimes, and we're biased towards our team, but they're clowns. But I did think it was funny when he said that, because Tua does look like he didn't lift a finger in the offseason. He really did look out of shape. So it don't matter how great. Do you need a super physique to be a good quarterback? I mean, Eli had a dad bod his whole career. Peyton Manning had a dad bod his whole career. Not everybody's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So
it's true. Imp says Hall of Fame offensive tackle available, 6'5", 285. Rosie Greer. He's only 91 years old. He'd be better than Matt Parrott. He'd be better than Matt Parrott. That's for damn sure.
I remember the Imp was there when Rosie was a rookie. That's what the Imp tells me.
He might be his dad. The Imp might be his dad.
I love the Imp. He's hilarious. Talks about being old all the time. I mean, his name is from Vlad the Impaler. Maybe he was around back in those days. Vlad was around.
Goblins, what's going on? Hottest fantasy take. Mine is Daniel Jones is a top 6 fantasy quarterback this year. I don't hate that take because of his dual threat capabilities. I think last year he finished as the 10th or 11th highest fantasy quarterback. I know because I had him on my fantasy team. I wouldn't be surprised if he cracks top 6 in fantasy this year if he plays 17 games at all. So I don't necessarily think that's that high of a hot take. I think he's definitely going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Let's see. Outside of Daniel Jones, my fantasy hot take, don't take a single Giants wide receiver because I think there's going to be a different featured one every week. Darren Waller, I think he's going to be a top 3 or 4 tight end when he's healthy and playing on the field. I think he's going to be right up there. He's going to be just behind Travis Kelce. I don't think he'll surpass him, but I think he'll be right behind him if he can stay healthy this year. So I guess if that's a hot take, I think he's going to be a top 3 fantasy tight end. Yeah, Barkley will be great. So I don't think there's many hot takes. From a fantasy perspective, not that I care. The only Giants I'd feel comfortable drafting are Barkley, Waller, and Jones, because those are the guys that are going to be featured week to week. The other guys, throw a dart at the board. Maybe you take a flyer on Jalen Hyatt late that he gets an expanded role as the year goes along.
That's tough. I'll tell you, I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but DJ Moore could have a huge year.
Yeah, with the Bears, I could see that. Yeah.
Again, I don't know where he's ranked. I was actually, because I have my football fantasy draft tomorrow. We do it in person, which is always fun. So I was looking at the we get to keep 2 players, so there's 12 teams. You start 2 quarterbacks. I was looking at there's quarterbacks available. They're all at the top, and I'm thinking to myself, well, we spent the 11th overall pick already and kept Joe Burrow because Burrow wasn't going to get to number 11. But so many quarterbacks.
Yeah, you're in a 2 quarterback league like me. They fly up the board.
So it's hard, especially with 12 teams and keepers. I forgot where DJ Moore was ranked, but that's a guy who I could see having a big fantasy year.
Yeah, I was thinking just from the Giants' perspective. One guy that I was thinking about keeping who would be on my no touch list. Actually, I don't want to talk too much about fantasy, but I think he's getting a lot of hype last year because he is talented. He's very explosive, but I just think there's too many unknowns there in terms of the volume of his targets. He had a lot of big plays last year, and Aaron Rodgers is no longer there. Christian Watson is probably on my no-touch list as a guy that I would consider, because I don't know what Jordan Love's going to look like. And he's not a guy that's a high-volume receiver. So that's a guy I'm probably staying away from. Slang says
Christian Watson helped us win last year because he had a couple of men. We picked him up off waivers. Yeah. He was huge. So, yeah.
I just think I'd rather go with a guy like DJ Moore, who's probably in the same level in terms of.
Yeah, that's it. I just have a feeling. Yeah. I still don't think that Justin Fields is very good. I watched them play, and DJ Moore was wide open in the middle. He threw it behind him and at his knees. He threw one fade pattern, which was 4 yards out of bounds. That is such a bad throw. Like if he couldn't run, he wouldn't be in the NFL. Like that's the way I look at it with him. But we'll see. I mean, I didn't think Jalen
He'll
Hurts
have
was
a
going
good
to be
stat year. He'll have a good stat year.
running. But
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think Jalen Hurts would be as good as he was either. So you never know. Some players take longer to develop.
You don't know. Slang says Thomas versus Parsons. Good Lord. I heard he was the best, so I lined up all game. Thomas will show Parsons levels. I'm not. I know last year Parsons, the second game, handled Andrew Thomas pretty well. Andrew Thomas had the flu in that game, if you recall, was not nearly himself. The first game he handled Parsons really well. We'll see. We'll see who wins matchup number 3. But I think Andrew Thomas is going to get the best of him. We'll see. If they line up Parsons on Thomas, of course they could shift him. Last year it was more so Tank on Neal. They may change that this year, so we'll see how they handle it. But yeah,
they Avon.
Yeah, exactly.
Dak's gonna fire.
Has to get home against them.
Dak's gonna fire 2 picks. Maybe Kayvon has one of them.
I like that.
Maybe Kayvon gets a pick 6.
I like that. Kayvon touchdown early on in the year. I like that. Kayvon actually has more touchdowns in his career as a Giant than Kadarius Toney did, and as many as Kenny Golladay.
Correct.
That's correct. That is true.
So did Andrew Thomas.
Yeah. And Bill, thank you so much, man. Stand up. New member. Bill's the man. Always supporting on Twitter. Always in the streams. Appreciate you, my man. Pirate King says, Sauce talking too much dookie after getting cooked by Hyatt twice. He was lucky Jones wasn't throwing the ball. Hold Merchant Gardner.
Facts.
Let him talk.
Facts. Sauce is good, but the fact that a rookie burned his ass twice and Tyrod underthrew him twice, it shows that Sauce has good recovery speed, but makes me just think to myself, our for a 3rd round wide receiver just cooked one of the best corners in the league twice.
I mean, there's nobody with better straight line speed than Jalen Hyatt. And he's blazing fast, and Sauce got to see it firsthand when he went up against him.
That's hopefully our Tyreek Hill, man.
That'd be sick. Pirate Kings. Oh, I just read that one. Big Daddy, what's going on, man? Good to see you, man. Says the roster is filled with good, solid players and a few stars. That's how you win a Super Bowl. Very few scrubs. We have a lot less scrubs than we've had in years past. Are we the best roster yet? No, but it's a far better roster than we've had in a long time. That's for damn sure, Big Daddy. And it's only trending up. It's only going to get better because you have to figure Shane has proven now, I think, over his first 2 years that he knows how to build a roster. He has a clear plan in place. And most importantly, we have the coaches to maximize these players. Obviously, a lot of these players were here when Gettleman was the GM, but they didn't look the same because the coaching staff didn't maximize their abilities. So you couple a GM that has a clear direction, you couple a coaching staff that is able to maximize the players that Joe Shane acquires for them. It's a recipe for success. I think it's only going to continue to get better and better, Big Daddy, as we get more and more talent on this team and as some of the younger talent matures and grows and gets better. Yep. The Kayvon Thibodeau.
You're exactly right, Big Daddy. You build it, you win those with depth. That's exactly. I mean, when I started YouTube way back in 07, in 08, we used to say that to the Cowboy fans because they'd always complain about their injuries. And like, we have injuries too. I mean, how many injuries we have? But we have depth. Got depth. That was our thing. You got depth? We have depth. Much better depth than we've had. And the O-line is still weak.
Yeah.
It's better, but it's not good yet. And that's going to take some time. But I think they get a couple more cracks at that thing. It's going to be solid.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure we already have 3 core pieces on that line. You have to figure that.
Yeah, you hope.
And you as those guys mature and get better, they play together with one another. I think you add one more piece to that line, maybe next year, relatively early in the draft, a guard, a long-term answer, and that line could be special as they continue to grow and get better.
Hopefully, Azudu, develops into a good guard.
Yeah. If you recall, the Giants' offensive line obviously became a powerhouse in 07 or 08, but it took them a little bit of time to grow and mature. Like Eli early on, when they had like Pettigrew, like their line wasn't very good. It wasn't great.
Pettigrew, oh God.
But they just played together. They grew and they got better. And I think it takes time to grow his line. It takes multiple years. As those guys continue to play with one another, it'll get better.
My friend and I used to just every time, man, we would just joke around. We'd always go, beep, ball start, 77 offense, holding, 77 offense, tripping, 77 offense.
He was the worst with that. He was the worst with that.
Roman Oben was another.
I would love to look up the career penalties for Pettigrew because I used to do the same thing when I'd watch the game with my friends. He got called for at least 2 or 3 penalties every single game. It was insane. John, what's going on, man? Rodgers disrespected my team. Now I got to turn my back on him. October 29th, Judgment Day. Let's go, John. Let's go. Mark Rice says, did you see the Jets rookie center Tippmann is third string? Yeah, I mean, he's a rookie. But yeah, obviously they weren't hoping for that, early on when they drafted him early. I think it was early second round or at least mid second round, long before we took JMS. He's a rookie, so we'll see how he matures and grows. But Tippmann, I was a much bigger fan of JMS, but JMS, if we're being fair, should be more advanced than Tippmann. JMS is 24. I don't think Tippmann's that old. But hey, I'm glad we got JMS. I think most people thought he was the safest and most advanced center in this draft class, and we need help as soon as we could get it. We'll see if Tippmann develops into anything. But yeah, he's been at least underwhelming so far as a Jet. And the Jets, historically speaking, a lot of their third-round picks, he was a second-round pick. Who was that edge rusher, defensive end they took from Florida, the Gators, like 5 years ago? He was supposed to be a first-round pick, and he trickled all the way down to the third round, and he got cut by the Jets before the year even started. I can't remember.
Oh, who was that?
In his rookie year, he got cut before he even played a snap.
Oh, man.
Third-round pick. Somebody in the chat's going to say it. Somebody in the chat
will say it.
Let's catch up with the chat. Well, I don't want to miss any of these, but somebody in the chat will say it, I'm sure.
Yep.
And Mark Stewart, stand up. Welcome to the squad, my man. Thank you so much for being here. And Kyle Blue with the $2 donation. Thank you very much. King Jaws says, did you see Micah Parsons talking mad cash money? No, what did he say? What did Micah Parsons say?
Yes, that's what Micah Parsons does. That's what the
Micah
Cowboys.
Parsons always running his mouth.
Cowboys run their mouth. Our team ain't won shit. What are you running your mouth for? Win something in the DVD age.
Yeah.
Was cell phones even around the last time the freaking I know Windows 94 was around the last time they won something. I mean, what are we doing here? I'm telling you, this is why the video is going to be going.
Demir, good to see you, man. My two favorite guys. 2 more weeks, and I'm back on the great East Coast where I belong. What are your predictions for the rookie stat-wise? Demir, thanks so much for being here, man. Well, obviously, you can't have a stat really for JMS. It's hard to really give him. I think Deonte Banks is going to be a solid rookie. He's gonna go through his ups and downs. He's going up against a really challenging schedule in terms of opposing wide receivers, but I think he's going to show glimpses of being really good. Maybe he comes up with 2 or 3 picks, hopefully. Hyatt's the guy that I think you really want to, that you could at least throw out a prediction for statistics being that he's a wide receiver. People have asked me this before. I think around 400 to 500 yards. I don't think he's going to be a heavily featured wide receiver early on. We're very deep there. I think he'll have a role, but it'll be a somewhat limited role early on. And then that role will expand as the year goes along. But right now, if Wan'Dell's ready to go, which we'll see if he is week 1, it's going to be hard for Hyatt to get a ton of targets when you look at Paris Campbell, Waller, Barkley coming out of the backfield, Wan'Dell, Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins. So, we're deep. I think he'll have a role, but it'll be a relatively limited role. I expect his role to expand, though, as the year progresses. I wouldn't be shocked if, say, by week 10 or 11, he overtakes the Darius Slayton role in this offense. I think that's the plan long term. So I'm going to go around 400 yards, maybe 500 for Hyatt, maybe catches 2 or 3 touchdowns, hopefully more than that. But I'm not going into the year with super high expectations for him just because I don't think the opportunity is going to be there unless we have injuries, which hopefully we don't, knock on wood. And outside of that, I mean, I don't think Gray's he's a backup running back, obviously behind Barkley. We hope he doesn't put up stats because that means Barkley got hurt. I think the rookies will play well, though. And that's the most important thing. I think JMS will be a solid center this year for a rookie. He clearly looks like he knows what he's doing, Baddog.
Yeah. I mean, they've been impressed with him, so he definitely looked good. And
Silly Parody says, great to see you guys again. Glad Joe Shane didn't pull the trigger on Judy. Getting Simmons on just a $1 million cap hit, Joe Shane's patience will get us a chip. I mean, Judy would have cost you a first-round pick. It just would have, right? Chase Claypool basically cost the first-round pick, the first pick in the second round for the Chicago Bears. Jerry Judy's a much better wide receiver than Chase Claypool. So he would have cost you a first-round pick. So, yeah, you wouldn't have had Deonte Banks because you would have had to give up this year's first-round pick to get him. And he went out and he got Hodgins. And he traded for Waller for much lower of a cost. So,
he drafted Jalen Hyatt. He had a Paris Campbell.
Joe Shane killed it. He killed it.
Killed it.
John says, listen, you can never accuse me of being delusional, but the reality is the Eagles and Giants have succeeded and kept the NFC East relevant since 2000. Hey, you're not going to get an argument out of me with that, man. The Eagles have been the most consistent team in the division, and we have the most Super Bowls since that point in time. So,
yeah, There you go.
Ain't gonna get an argument out of me. Jax, man, thank you for being a member for 26 months. Says congrats, Chris. Also, Baddog and Chris. Let's whoop Dallas. Let's just beat them. We don't gotta whoop them. Just beat them. Just beat them. I mean, I'd like to whoop them, but beat them. Just beat them. You beat them by 1 point. 1 point.
Just beat them.
Mr. Marchese, talking fantasy, just drafted Waller and picked up Daniel from waivers. I mean, I guess
one quarterback league.
One quarterback, but still, what is it, like an 8-team league? Daniel Jones going undrafted? That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Sucks.
Ridiculous, Andrew. Great pickup, man. He's going to kill it this year.
Might win tonight. This is always the way we start. I always do good at college football. Utah's a 14-point favorite. They're up 17-3, getting ready to score again. Florida got no offense.
Yeah, well, they lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
Tudo. He says, massive salutes and respects to Tana and the Baddog. And all the diehard Giants fans in America will slap the stinky boys losers out the door. Forget about it. What's going on, Tudo? Want to say hello to Bigger Mike. Good to see you, my man. Thanks for popping in. Say hello to a couple people as I see him in the chat. Davey Anonymous, amazing guy, of course, always in the chats. Thank you to everybody for being here. Appreciate it. What's going on, Dante? What's going on, Papa Goods? Brandon Swan, Pitbone in the chat. We're getting ready for football coming up real soon in a week. You know what? I think I'm going to stream that game. Why not? Opening night, Lions, Chiefs. I think I'll stream that game, Thursday Night Football. We'll see. I usually do that. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see that game. I'm rooting for the Chiefs because the Lions could be a team maybe we compete with for a playoff spot. So hopefully the Chiefs knock their socks off. Stylo.
I'm rooting for the Chiefs because I just put down some cash and a Pat Mahomes.
Cash?
Yeah.
What's
buy Mahomes rookie? Huh?
Oh, you mean for a card? You mean?
Yeah, I bought.
Okay.
I'm not betting on it, but
no.
I needed a Mahomes rookie. We got one.
I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. That's only going to go up.
I think so.
Stylo, stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad. And professionally certified hater says, before it got shut down by Shanahan, did you guys see that the rumor Bosa potentially being traded to the Jets? I would have lost my you know what. Yeah, I mean, you never know in the NFL. There's surprising trades, but I'd be shocked. I mean, you're talking about a team in the 49ers that are equipped to potentially go to the Super Bowl this year. I think they're one of the two favorites coming out of the NFC, at least going into the year. I can't see them trading arguably a top, 2, 3 pass rushers in all of football, maybe even the best. I mean, he's that good. So, yeah, I saw those rumors. Nonsense. I don't see that happening. Maybe if things fall apart in San Francisco, but not right now.
Yeah, maybe he'll trade him to the Giants. Maybe I just start my own rumor mill.
And JD says, gotta play what Carl and Baldy said about Hyatt versus Sauce. It's a post that says Hyatt versus Sauce. It's all about a minute long. Can't wait till they unleash him. What do you mean, on Twitter? I'll try to find it. If I have a minute or two, I'll try to find it. Baldy always does good breakdowns on the Giants, though.
Sauce got cooked.
What is it called? It's called Hyatt versus Sauce. Let me see. Hyatt versus Sauce. Let's see. I'll try to find it. It's going to be hard for me to find. There's a lot of posts all over Hyatt versus Sauce. So far, I haven't seen it. So I'll try to find it, though, as the stream goes along. I'll try to find it. I'll keep looking. But thank you, man. I appreciate it, buddy. Let's see. And Mark says Simmons will have Baddog put on his green jacket. There you go.
Simmons is the man. Simmons is going to have a great – I'm pumped about Isaiah Simmons, baby. I think, man, again, if he's not good, it costs us his 7th-round pick. But the upside, he just turned 25, freakishly athletic, quick, strong. Wink Martindale, I mean, you can play him all over the field. I mean, he's a perfect guy without a position. That's what Wink wants, guys without positions.
Yeah, we said it, man. He's kind of like Dale Buchanan, but a much better version. When we picked him up, we envisioned him to be that type of role with this team. But obviously, Simmons has a much higher ceiling, and he's playing in a much better defense to be able to maximize his abilities. So I think he's a perfect fit for the scheme. I really do. I think he's a perfect fit. Certified Hater says, Chris, you didn't have to remind me. That's who it was, Ja'Kai Polite. That was really unnecessary. That was very sad. Now we on the up now. Douglas is him. Yeah, Polite. I remember going into that draft, a lot of people had him as a first-round prospect, and he started to slip as the draft got closer. I think the Jets ended up getting him in the 3rd round. He didn't even make the team. He didn't even make the practice squad. His rookie year, they cut him. So it was just wild. But yeah, so sorry I reminded you about that. And Stylo says, hey, you guys, hope both of you are okay. Can't wait for the season opener. Go Giants, supporting from the Bay Area. Well, hopefully you're going to the game in the Bay Area. But thank you for being here.
I think I found it. It's Baldy's Breakdowns.
Oh, you found it?
I think I found it.
All right. Share it. Share it, and I'll post it. Baldy does great breakdowns on the Giants. Clock says stream it, Chris. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna. The opening night. I do that every year, so I'll do it this year. I'll do the Thursday night opening night game for sure, which is in a week.
Baldy.
I remember when I was doing those mock drafts, though, at the beginning, a lot of people had Polite going in the mid to late 1st round. And let's see what we got. This is the Baldy breakdown.
Yep.
All right, go ahead and expand that.
So Jets Giants in a meaningless preseason game, right? Yeah, okay. Watch what Mike Kafka and Brian Dable drew up on the first play of the game. Giants motion and shift here to 2 tight ends. Then they're gonna motion Jalen Hyatt across the formation. They want to attack Sauce Gardner on the first play. The first play.
Right by him.
Oh, and that little hesitation and that stutter and go.
Trayvon Diggs.
They had him, too. They had him. They went right after him. They said, you know what? Our guy, we like our guy. We know the Jets like their guy, but we like our guy. And then 4 minutes later, they said, you know what? Let's just line up. We don't need the motion. Let's just line up. Little stutter right here.
Woo!
They think they got him again, except Sauce is up to the task. And then they give him a nice little kiss at the end right there. And Dable's watching the whole thing going, all right, we'll see you again. We'll see you on October 29th. We'll see what our guy does then.
All right. Pretty good. Baldy's the man with those breakdowns with the Giants, but that's awesome.
Yeah, that first one, boy, I'm telling you, that's what he can do to Trayvon Diggs because he's a gambler. He's a gambler. You do a little hesitation, he's gone.
They're definitely going to take at least. They're going to take at least one, maybe 2 shots with Hyatt in the opening night game. I do think that. I expect that.
You can beat Trayvon, no question.
Oh, he's the guy.
You don't get a dozen interceptions because guys are afraid of you.
Yeah, it's true. And Corp says, riddle me this: what opponent was Eli Manning's final game? It was the Dolphins, wasn't it?
Yes.
I think it was the Dolphins, right? Which was also a Giants win. A helpful hint is that this team resides at a place. There you go. Where Hurricanes have a major cat. Yeah, obviously because Daniel Jones got hurt. Eli Manning ended up playing 2 games towards the end before Jones came back in, and I think played the last game or 2 games. He, of course, had the 5-touchdown game against Washington. I think the other game that Eli played was the Eagles, I want to say. Yep. Yeah, and he had the long touchdown to Slayton in that game. But yeah, it was the Miami Dolphins, and he went out on top. I remember he was holding his kid in the tunnel at the end of the game, celebrating with his family. So yeah, it was good to see Eli Manning go out with a win for sure. But Court, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, buddy. Let's see what we got. Fix the O-line. We've been saying it for years. The best name on YouTube. Literally the best name on YouTube. Fix the O-line. It doesn't get better than that. I love my 300-pound men. He said, what games I'm gonna talk to my brother, but he told me a couple of weeks ago he wants to go to the Jet game. So I think that's the game I'm going to. May go to another game, we'll see. But I'm definitely circling the Giant Jet game for sure. I'm going to see my brother actually opening day. I'm not going to, I'm going to be going over his house during the day. And of course, I'll be back here for the night game with the Giants. So we'll talk then. We'll figure it out. But when I know for sure, I'll let you guys know. But I'm definitely leaning Giants Jets game, which should be a lot of fun. Let's see what we got. And thank you, Fix the O-line. Gavin says a NASCAR package with Dex, Leo, Tibbs, Azeez Ojulari, and Simmons. Yes, please. Week 1, Giants 31-20 over Los Vaqueros. Let's effing go. Yeah, listen, we got pass rushers from all over. We got guys that could blitz from all over. McKinney, too. He's a guy that's kind of versatile that you could use as a blitzer. McFadden, we've talked about him. He was drafted specifically for that reason because of the way that he fits in this scheme. So Wink's going to be bringing pressure from all over with this team. I don't expect the guy to have an enormous sack season because it's going to be schemed up. It's going to be coming from all over. You're not going to know where it's coming from, but I do expect this to be an aggressive defense and a productive defense. I think we'll have more sacks than last year, and I think we'll create more turnovers than we did last year, which is almost impossible not to. We only had 6 interceptions. So I think we're going to be able to create more turnovers, and I think we'll have more sacks this year. It's going to be an exciting defense, man, with some of these late additions that we had. It's going to be a very exciting
Yeah,
defense.
again, younger, faster, NASCAR package. Look out, Dak. Your ass going to get run over week 1, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Svi, what's going on, man? Guys, we got to keep in mind last year we stole a lot of games last year and might not happen as much this year. Hopefully it does. I mean, that's fair to bring up that point, Svi, as you're worried that we stole games last year. But I could just as easily say, Svi, we won games because of good coaching. You could go back in years past, Svi, and you could look at teams coached by Joe Judge. You could look at teams coached by Pat Shermer. There was a lot of games. I remember Baddog and me talked about it because we were trying to find hope, Baddog. We were trying to instill hope in ourselves. I remember our first year doing the show together in 2018, going into 2019, we said consistently all the time, go back and look at the last 8 games. The Giants should have been 7-1. But they weren't, Baddog, because they didn't win the close games because they weren't a well-coached football team. At the end of the day, almost every game in the league, when you look around the league, I forgot what the hour's called. So Francesca used to refer to it.
Witching hour. It's the witching hour.
That's what it is, the witching hour. Francesca used to say it all the time. You can look around the league, every game, every week, and at least 10 games minimum will be decided by one possession at the end of the game. And the teams that are the better coach team, more often than not, win those games. So I get it that fans say we got lucky last year. I don't consider it luck. I consider it a team that was well prepared, that was well coached. And people point to luck. They say, well, you got lucky against the Ravens. You got lucky against so-and-so. I disagree. I think there's been years where we've been given equal luck, but the team wasn't as opportunistic because they weren't as good. They weren't as well coached. As fans, you always point to the bad luck, which we've always had some bad luck. I think it always comes out over the course of a year, though, Baddog. And the teams that were bad in years past didn't take advantage of the good luck when they were presented with it. I think this is a better team. I think it's a team that is equipped to win close games because we have one of the better coaches in the NFL.
Correct. That's what it comes down to, execution and fundamentals, things that Joe Judge talked about but never actually did. Like the Giants never executed. With Dable, they do. And that's something else that they talked about when they said, can you build on last year? Can you have a better year? And he said, this is a different group of guys. We really won't know what we have till we start playing. He said, because we have to see how these guys fight through adversity. And it's a great point that last year they did. Last year they did fight through adversity. They were down at halftime in a lot of games. And they came back and won. Again, that has a lot to do with the coaching adjustments. And, you know, when you have good coaches that can figure it out at halftime, that goes a long way in winning football games. So, yeah, and it's not like the teams that we beat were bad. You know, it's not like we came from behind against bad teams. These were teams that were playoff teams the year before. So 2 of them were in the championship game, and the Packers and Titans, and we came back to beat them, both on the road, mind you. Now, granted, Green Bay was also on the road in London, but still, you know, and Lamar, obviously the Ravens were at home, but we are home. So, yeah, man, beat the Ravens, beat the Packers, beat the Titans.
Yeah, and the other thing, Baddog, when I think back to it last year, especially early in the year, which really shows you how much better this coaching staff was in prior regimes, which I think was the main, obviously, difference in this team last year and why we were able to win a lot more games than we had in the past. Think about the halftime adjustments. It was the complete reverse of Pat Shermer. We used to scream about it, how he only ran the ball with Saquon Barkley 4 times in the second half against the Eagles when we were running it down their throat. And Shermer would always make bad halftime adjustments, and same thing with, you know, all of our other prior coaches. Last year, you think about the adjustments we made against the Packers. First half of that game, Aaron Rodgers was going down the field at will. Screen pass, screen pass, screen pass, screen pass, screen pass. We made adjustments. They couldn't move the ball on us in the second half.
Do anything in the second half.
That has to do with coaching. You think about the adjustments from within these games last year on the offensive side of the ball. Think about the Jaguars game. Daniel Jones' first half throws for 200 yards. He throws all over that defense. What do the Giants do in the second half when the Jaguars show a different look? The Giants then resort to the running game. So you saw adjustments, and there's several other instances you could point to. You saw adjustments from within games last year that really showed you how much better of a coaching staff this has been than in years past.
Absolutely.
And Gundy says, honest view, you'll have all the reasons to be hyped, but honest, Washington, New York Giants aren't tying again. Well, no, I mean, the chance of that happening is slim to none. So, yeah, no. I'm not expecting a tie.
I don't expect it to happen either.
And I'm not sleeping on Washington. I think Washington is a pretty good football team. I think a lot of people are ragging on Washington. Washington went 8-1 last year. And there was a point last year when they were one of the better teams in the NFC for about a 5-game stretch. They beat the Eagles. They, I think, have won 4 or 5 in a row before they played us on Sunday Night Football. So they're not a pushover. I don't think there's a pushover in this division. Do I think it's a team we should beat? Yeah. I look at Washington. This is why I think we should beat Washington. It's pretty easy. It's pretty simple. The two most important things of a football team are the head coach and the quarterback. We have a much better head coach and we have a much better quarterback. That's why we should beat Washington. Outside of that, we're pretty equal in terms of overall talent, but we got the better coach and we got the better quarterback. And when you have that, I'm going to favor you week to week. Yeah. So that's
a rookie quarterback going against Wink Martindale's defense. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough night for Mr. Howell. So we'll see. I mean, Washington does come out of the gate with a couple of easy games. I know they start with Arizona. And Arizona actually has an NFC East team the first 3 games of the season. They play Washington, then they play us, then they play Dallas. That's rough on them. They get Philly later in the year, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. I was a rookie quarterback. You don't know. Teams don't really have film on him, so he could take them by surprise. But I feel like that's just such a massive adjustment to the NFL. I mean, yeah, they beat Dallas last year. Dallas really wasn't playing for much because they knew that they had a just extremely rare hope of winning that division. And, because the Giants were playing their backups in that game. So I'm pretty sure Dallas knew the Giants were going to win. So they kind of went with the vanilla playbook. And Sam Howell it's not like they won because of Sam Howell. He threw a touchdown and interception at like 150 yards. He completed like 60% of his pass. It wasn't a great game. Dak threw a pick 6 or something in that game, so that certainly helped. But we'll see.
I'm not gonna. I do think Sam Howell's got a little bit of talent. I remember watching him at North Carolina. He's a solid quarterback prospect, but people that are hyping up Sam Howell's been playing with the first team offense with Washington in these games up until halftime. Terry McLaurin was playing until halftime. He got hurt. I was like, is Ron Rivera an idiot? And I get it. You're trying to get your quarterback experience, but the guy in a lot of these games is probably going up against third stringers.
Yep.
I mean, come on. So am I going to read too much into the preseason performance of Sam Howell? No. Let me
look at what Will Greer did against the Vegas Raiders.
Come on.
It doesn't matter. He threw 25 or 31 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he got promptly cut.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about Sam Mahomes. Because Louis T, I love him. What he did. And even in the Instagram chat today, I told him, I said, he going to make a new hat that says the new Mahomes order. He said, man, I expect that from LB, but not you. A2 Baddog. I said, Louis, you brought that on yourself. You can't ever put Sam Howell in the same sentence with Pat Mahomes. Come on. Come on, man. We can't do that.
Chris B says, "Oh, that's what you're referring to." Baddog Washington, the Sam. Yeah, it's crazy. That's crazy.
A great stream.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And Gundy says we beat Philly too with Heine. Yeah, listen, Washington's a solid team. I'm not discounting Washington. They're a solid team. I think we'll get the better of you. But would I be shocked if we split with Washington? No. I don't think they're a pushover. I think they're a solid team.
I actually picked us to split with Washington.
You did, yeah. I mean, I'm not disrespecting Washington. I think they're
Washington has to win eventually, but we match up very well with them. Always have.
Yeah. And the imp says our guy Belichick, the GOAT, coach and halftime adjuster, 86-91, Greer 31st overall in the third. Listen, it's not even close. Bill Belichick's the greatest head coach of all time. I don't even think it's close. Is it? Who would even be comparable? Who's second in line to Belichick? Would it be Bill Walsh? Would it be Belichick's the best? I mean,
that's hard. I mean, Don Shula, maybe.
Yeah. Noel
Andrew is Vince Lombardi.
Lombardi, of course. But no, it's Belichick. He's on the hill by himself, man. Though he's on the hill by himself. He's the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah. And let's see. Andy Reid. Andy Reid is one of the best offensive coaches of all time. And he's one of the better coaches of all time. He's a great head coach. I think you can make an argument that Andy Reid is that a crazy statement? Is Andy Reid the greatest offensive coach of all time?
You might have to put Bill Walsh in there.
Bill Walsh, he invented the West Coast offense, right?
That's pretty good.
Well, yeah. But Andy Reid is so good. I mean, historically speaking, I mean,
Bill Walsh won
with those
Bowls.
Eagles
I mean,
games.
all three. He won 3 Super Bowls. But I mean, let's face it, George Seifert had Bill Walsh's team
Right.
in '89. So
Reid is up there in terms of offensive coaches. But overall coach, I think you got to go Bill.
I mean, another guy that's one of the greatest coaches ever is Joe Gibbs. I mean, Joe Gibbs won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, and Washington was one of the best teams in football, maybe the second best in the Niners from 1982 to 1991. The 10, they played in 4 Super Bowls and won 3, and they were always competitive every year.
I say it all the time, Baddog, when this comes up. I think what Gibbs did is one of the greatest accomplishments in the history of the NFL.
Without question.
The history of the NFL.
Without question.
To win 3 Super Bowls within what, a 7-year stretch, 8, whatever it was?
Yeah, 9.
With 3 different quarterbacks is insane. That's nearly impossible. That's crazy. So
probably will never be done again.
Yeah. And it's because of the men up front. Of course, they were the ones that were, the hop. Right?
It helped.
Yeah. And Durant says, Chris, would you try to acquire Chase Young if available? Yeah, but I don't see why Washington would trade him to the Giants. I don't see that.
Get rid of him. There's talk about them just cutting ties with Chase Young.
Cutting him?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
No. There's rumors about that. They talked about that last night. Like Chase Young might not be. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so I don't know what they're doing. But
he was a complete. I mean, he's definitely has.
Yeah, they're not going to trade him to the Giants.
No,
I don't know what they're going to do with him. Big Moose said Reid is up there, especially in the cheeseburgers. Facts. One of the best cheeseburger eaters ever.
Donovan says 3 years since Joe Judge was rolling around in the mud during camp. I mean, I bought into it. I was excited, but yeah, obviously now we joke about it. Yeah, he looks like a fool.
Wow.
And Just a Guy says Andy Reid is the GOAT. Beagles were in the playoffs every year. I mean, I agree. He's an incredible head coach. I was celebrating when the Eagles got rid of him.
Yeah.
He's a great head coach. You look what he did with Alex Smith. I mean, my God, like he had Alex Smith looking like a Pro Bowler. I mean, Todd Pinkston was like his wide receiver 1 with the Eagles.
Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah, Freddie Mitchell, James Thrash.
Right.
And he had the Eagles being in the top 5 offense every year. I mean, come on. Gundy Man says, and what if we go back to RFK? Talking about Washington?
We beat you there too. I mean, you could be the Redskins, the Commanders, the football team, whatever you're going to name yourself next, and it's the same thing, man. The Giants, doesn't matter what your name is. Giants, Washington, we handle. The other 2 teams, we don't. I don't know why that is. Washington can beat Philadelphia and Dallas. We can't, but Washington can't beat us, and I don't get it. It's weird how that works, but I'm more concerned about the other 2 teams. I'm not saying Washington will be terrible because, again, they were a 500 team last year. Think about it. They won the division with a worse record in 2020 than they had last year, and they finished last place. So it tells you what this division has become now. But like I said, I think that I'm as a Giants fan, I'm a little bit more concerned with Philadelphia and Dallas because they're the ones that are consistently at the top of the division with real winning records. And they're both teams that we've had a hard time beating. So
Washington's a fun, interesting team this year, though.
They always are. I never know what Washington's going to be.
Yeah,
I really don't.
They got the new owner, the new aura about them. The fan base is, I'm sure, very excited about that. I get it. If I was a Washington fan, I'd be excited too. You got rid of
the future, yes.
Yeah, but this year I agree. I think it's still a
transition year. We at least see Sam Howell play in a real game. I don't know what exactly. The last game of the season when that game meant nothing to Dallas, and it really didn't. I just want to see what he does the first month of the season. Don't have a better idea.
And Gundy says we are not getting rid of. Yeah, I don't see. Well, I mean, maybe next year you won't sign him. That's very possible. But yeah, you're not trading him this year. Let's see. Chiefs were 1-4 in the playoffs. Well, yeah, I mean it's because they had Alex Smith. But yes, obviously getting Pat Mahomes. I think Reid maximized the Chiefs team, and then when they got Mahomes, you combined the most talented quarterback of all time with the best offensive coach, one of the best offensive coaches of all time, offensive coaches. So
Gavin said. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I saw Gavin there said Daniel Jones was 4-1-1 against Washington. Just remember the one we lost was because Dexter Lawrence jumped off sides after they missed a field goal. And don't forget, they called the Daniel Jones 40-yard touchdown run back on a phantom holding call, and Darius Slayton dropped the touchdown in that game. So really, if we didn't have three things go against us, like three massive things go against us, I mean, he'd be 5-0-1. Yeah. So he's played well against Washington.
And the Dexter Lawrence was not offsides on that play, by the way.
He was not.
He was not offsides. Let's see. Shula had Dan Marino and couldn't win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's true, but the overall team around Marino was not good. It was not good.
True, but Shula took the Colts to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's one of the greatest upsets in history. But the Colts were the best team in 1968. The Jets beat them in the Super Bowl. And then he brought Miami to 3 straight Super Bowls. That feat has not been accomplished since 71 through 73. He won back-to-back Super Bowls. And again, he got there in 84. But Miami had a defense when he was winning in the 70s. They didn't have a defense during Marino's time. So it was a little difficult. 1985 would have been the year I feel they should have never lost to the Patriots. And they were the only team to beat the Bears that whole year because Marino, they destroyed that 85 defense because of Marino's quick release. It would have been a much better Super Bowl. But I mean, they were always contenders. It's just they didn't have the horses. You know?
And the other thing you got to factor in back then, Bad Dog, there wasn't as much parity because there was no salary cap. So back then, you had your powerhouses. You had your Cowboys. You had your 49ers. You had Washington. And then you had the Bills in the AFC. Like, you had your powerhouse. They didn't lose their players. There was no shifting in the league in terms of massive free agency. So, that's the way the league was back then. So it's kind of apples and oranges when you compare it era to era. And Fix the Line says, think we'll stop rotating guards this year. I sure hope so. I think it's a bit of an overreaction by fans in preseason that we're saying about that, in my personal opinion. I don't necessarily think that's going to translate into the regular season. It could, and if it does, I'm not going to be very happy. I want consistency there. But I think that you could at least say to yourself, well, the reason they're rotating the guards is because they want to give Azudu as many looks as they possibly can at these different positions, knowing that at some point he's probably going to be thrown into the starting lineup, whether it be due to injury or the fact that Glowinski's not playing well, whatever it may be. And you also, more importantly, probably want to get JMS as much experience as you possibly can playing next to all three of these different individuals based on the circumstance. But from within games, I don't think they're going to do a lot of, I hope not. I don't think they're going to do a lot of shifting at the guard spot. But hey, it's possible. If they do that, I will not be very happy. Let's see. Donovan says, also, Bad Dog, your post-game video from 2021 are gold. Been going back and watching that.
Yeah, I think, Donovan, I think I mentioned this when we did the show at Patty, that Joe Judge gave me probably my best content on YouTube. He really did. He really fed me a lot of content. And let's face it, I fed him a 11-minute rant. I still say I influenced Joe Judge's ass to come out with the clown show. Joe watched. Yeah. I know he did. No, but in all seriousness, he did. I mean, I didn't even know what to cut. I mean, I put a paper bag on my head, for crying out loud, and did a video with a paper bag on my head. I brought out a roll of toilet paper and told Chris, this is our playbook. I brought in circus music. Like, it was so bad. Yeah. So the 2017 Giants were a disaster. Yeah. But there was a lot of injuries there, and it is what it is. The 2021 Giants, I know Daniel Jones got hurt, but that has got to be the worst team I have ever seen in my life after Daniel Jones got hurt. Like, I've never, ever, ever seen a team that just legitimately could not.
It really made you at least start to realize how bad the team around Daniel Jones was. Like, we all knew it was really bad, but when Jones was playing quarterback that year, they were at least
4-7.
They were decent. Like,
they beat the Eagles.
What is that?
They beat the Eagles, so I didn't have to wear that damn jersey.
They were competitive 4-7 too. Like, they lost a lot of tight games. They lost a tight game to the Falcons. There was like 2 or 3 really tight losses early on in the year. The Washington game, the Dexter Lawrence offside. Like, they were 2 plays away from being 6-5 with Daniel Jones at quarterback that year. And then when he went down, they looked like they were Rutgers going up against an NFL team. Like, that's how bad that team was coached and was around Daniel Jones. It really made you realize how bad it was.
Yes. What were we at? We were outscored like 75-0 in the last 2 minutes.
Insane. That whole year was insane.
Right? So it was horrible. But listen, those videos were very cathartic for me. Like I needed them, and I mean, literally, I was going insane watching the Giants. I really was. That was a brutal, brutal, brutal year. I don't ever want to live one of those again.
No. And Chris says, I got stuck with the Jets defense special teams for my fantasy team. I mean, I think they're going to be good. They have a good defense. Do you think it's an upgrade if I were to replace them with the Giants defense? I mean, I really like the Giants defense, but if you're asking for fantasy purposes, I wouldn't love the Giants defense this year in fantasy because they play a lot of good offenses. I mean, they play some of the best offenses the league has to offer. The 49ers, obviously the Eagles twice, Dallas twice. The Dolphins have a really good offense. The Bills have a very good offense. The Jets, you figure, have a good offense with Rodgers. So I wouldn't be in love with the Giants defense from a fantasy perspective just because of their overall strength of schedule. But I think the Giants have a good defense, but I don't think they're going to put up great fantasy numbers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the Jets schedule looks like. So
they play us. They play our division, so that's tough. And Jets play a tough schedule too.
They have their own division's tough too.
They have their own division. Yeah, they play a tough schedule too. So
I mean, if you could play the Giants week 2 against Arizona, that might be a good match.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's certain games for sure you want to play the Giants.
Simmons is going to blow it up that game.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe when they play Washington. Gundy says, so Washington has your past center. Yes, they do. Mr. Nick Gates. Is Wink Mart in prepared to match up with the skill players? Wink Martindale prepared to match up with the skill players. By the way, this is a Skins fan, and I respect the New York Giants, and I really hope you do well. We appreciate that, Gundy. Thank you very much. Listen, I love Nick Gates. I think he's an adequate center. I don't think he's anything exceptional, but he's a guy that the team loved, the fans loved. He was a captain. He got hurt, of course, that year, but he's definitely a really tough football player. He's the type of guy that if he's on your team, you love him. Yeah. And if he's going up against you, you despise the guy. But I'm going to miss Nick. He was one of my favorite players on the team. As far as Wink, listen, as far as your skill position players go, the way that Wink's going to try to combat that is we're going to send pressure from all over. And Washington's offensive line is mediocre. I won't say it's horrible, but it's certainly not great. And yeah, Wink's going to try to confuse a quarterback with limited experience. He's going to give him a lot of different looks. And yeah, you're going to hit some big plays against our rookie corners, but I think Wink's going to be able to dial up some packages that confuse your quarterback and probably create some turnover opportunities for the Giants. That's how I see it playing out when we play you guys. Will McLaurin get some big hitters? Of course, he always kills the Giants. But I think we'll be able to create some turnovers going up against an inexperienced quarterback with the type of looks. You don't see a Wink Martindale defense every week. So for an inexperienced quarterback, a lot of times I could definitely see that being a disaster. Let's put it that way. So we'll see. I'm excited to see how it plays out against Washington.
If Washington runs the ball effectively, they're going to be tough.
Of course.
They were running the ball really effectively, I think, in the first game, and they stopped.
Couldn't understand that, man. Brian Robinson had like 3 carries in the second half.
It made no sense. That goes back to coaching. And again, I don't like Washington, but I certainly do not have the hatred for Washington that I do the other 2 teams. I've always respected Washington. I've always been a huge Joe Gibbs fan. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so the Giants and Washington were it in our division. I loved Riggins. I mean, if you were alive to watch John Riggins and love football, there's no way you didn't love Riggo. I always loved the posse, Art Monk, Ricky Sanders, Gary Clark. I love those guys. So I just, I Doug Williams. I liked Joe. I always loved Joe Gibbs, which is the reason when I started watching NASCAR, I was a Tony Stewart fan because Gibbs owned his car. So I don't, like I said, I don't like Washington, but I can tell you this: every Super Bowl I've ever seen you guys in, I've rooted for you, and every Super Bowl I've seen Philadelphia and Dallas in, I've rooted against them. So that tells you all you need to know about my respect for Washington.
Yeah, for me, I don't go back as far as you. I started watching the Giants in the mid-'90s.
Thanks for rubbing that in.
The first Super Bowl I do remember watching as a kid, though, is one of the worst Super Bowls of all time, was Washington versus Buffalo. I think that was 92, maybe. And I remember sitting down and watching that game in its entirety when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And it was such a horrible game. Washington blew them out. But yeah, I think it's probably because when I was born, I don't have near the amount of hatred towards Washington as I do Philadelphia or the Cowboys. Because, if we're being honest, Washington hasn't been very successful since I've been watching the Giants. So that may change in the future if Washington gets really good and things change with Philadelphia, but I don't think so, man. I think Philadelphia will always hold a special place in my heart for the most hated franchise in all of professional sports. And I hate the Cowboys nearly equally as much, Bad Dog, but it's because of the gruesome memories against the Philadelphia Eagles, some of the worst sports moments of my life. I've said it several times. The Miracle at the Meadowlands Part 2. I literally, because my phone, I was at a bar at the time. My phone got flooded by text messages when I was at the bar of my friends that were Jet fans, that were ragging. I turned my phone off and didn't turn it back on for 3 days. That's how upset I was. Social media wasn't huge back then, so you weren't on Twitter and stuff like that. I didn't even want to communicate with people for 3 days. So moments like that in my life, I think I will always hate the Eagles the most. Always. I think I will always hate the Eagles the most.
That goes for me. Yeah, I've dealt with that crap too. But I go back to a block field goal that Clyde Simmons picked up and scored a touchdown. I go back to Via Sikahema punching the freaking goal post after returning a punt. I go back to Westbrook in '97 returning that stupid punt. We shouldn't have punted to him. That happened before the Deshaun Jackson thing. I go back to Buddy Ryan, who I hated, putting a bounty on LT. That didn't work out very good because LT beat the living shit out of Philadelphia on a consistent basis. But I hated Buddy Ryan. I hated him. I hated Mike Golick. I hated Jerome Brown. I hated Seth Joyner and Clyde Simmons. I hated Andre Waters was a dirty-ass player.
Dawkins.
Hated, right. I'm just going back a little far.
Yeah.
I hated him. Buddy Ryan, I literally hated that man. And I always loved what Mark Bavaro said. I used to have dreams about murdering that man. And of course, Bavaro ended up being an Eagle. But yeah, my
most hated Eagles. I don't go back as far as you. My most hated Eagles are number one is Deshaun Jackson.
I hate them both too, Chris Dawkins and Jackson. I hate right at the top of the list.
Deshaun Jackson is my most hated athlete of all time. And Dawkins is a close second. And I'll throw Riley racist in there. Riley Cooper. I don't. How the hell do the Eagles even keep that guy? But I just hate the Eagles. There's not a player in the Eagles I like. It's just fact. I can't.
Not a fan. Hated him.
I just can't stand the Eagles.
I did like Brian Westbrook though. I did like Westbrook.
He was a good player.
Eric Allen's one of my favorite players ever. I always loved Eric Allen. I was very happy when he got traded to New Orleans. But that's the jersey that Johnny Letourneau bought me because I said that's like my favorite Eagles jersey is that Eric Allen with that Kelly green and the spread eagle, the eagle with the wings spread out. I think that's really cool. Like they're like a booger green, stupid ass, ugly eagle. Like an eagle's a beautiful bird, right? But the what they did to their uniforms, and again, I'm not a uniform guy, but I like the '80s Eagles uniforms better. Harold Carmichael was running on the field, and Keith Byers and Keith Jackson, and Anthony Toney, which is one of the greatest names ever because his name is Tony.
That is a good name.
Quick. Like listen, man, I know all about the damn Eagles in the '80s because I freaking hate them. You keep your friends close and the enemies closer.
And Al Batts, what's going on, man? Digging holes and burying trolls. He says, great seeing you two. Very excited for the new season. Keep up the great work and looking forward to your live streams because we don't get all the games here in Florida. Well, lucky for you, Al, this year, you're going to be getting a lot more games than you've gotten in the past because Giants are playing prime time like 6 times this year. So you'll definitely get more games this year. So that's good for people that are outside of the tri-state area. But yeah, man, anytime you pop in, we appreciate it. Not just you, but everybody in the stream that supports all of us. And good to see you, Al. Hope you're doing well. You want to talk about a guy that's in enemy territory. Well, I think you were living in Dallas, weren't you? And now I guess now you're in Florida. I thought he was living in Dallas at one point, but now he's in Florida. Okay.
I was doing a stream there, and it was the other night. There was a lot of people saying they lived in Dallas or in Philly. I'm like, you guys live in enemy territory, man. That's got to be rough. I can't even imagine living in those areas being a Giants fan.
Yeah, and Cole, thank you so much, man. Patty said something about Bleacher Report reaching out. Yeah, it just happened on Twitter. I posted a tweet. I forgot what the tweet was. And I guess the guy was following me, and he told me he checked out my content. And, yeah, he's from Bleacher Report, a talent scout. I don't know what his term is, but and yeah, he asked me to come on and work for Bleacher Report, at least for week 1, and I guess we'll take it from there. But yeah, I was a little bit taken aback. And, I said thank you to everybody on Twitter, on YouTube, and appreciate all you guys. But yeah, I'll be on, I'm doing a preview sometime next week. I got to work out the details. I don't know when it's going to be for the game on Bleacher Report, and then I'm going to be live. It's only for a half hour after the game.
from like 11:10 to 11:40. And then I'll probably come back live on my channel for about an hour. And then I got to go to sleep before work. But yeah, I'll be live on Bleacher Report after the game for about a half hour. I'll give you guys the details as the game gets closer. And Kevin Sullivan says, hot take, Giants have a top 15 offensive line this year. I mean, all right, hot take, Kevin. If the Giants have a top 15 offensive line this year, we're going to have like a top 8 offense.
Definitely.
Is that a hot take? When I couple our play callers, if you give me a slightly above average or even average offensive line, which is around where that is, with our play callers and Daniel Jones year 2 in the scheme for an offense last year that was middle of the pack, we're going to have a really good offense if we have a top 15 offensive line this year. You could take that straight to the bank.
There'll be a lot better. There'll be a lot more deep plays. If they could protect Daniel Jones and allow those guys to work in the secondary. Without question, because again, we got faster. Slayton can run, Campbell can run, Hyatt, he has a jetpack up his ass. We know that. You can get Barkley running, it just enhances Daniel Jones' RPO ability, his scrambling ability, which in turn enhances Darren Waller's ability to get behind the linebackers. It could be really fun for first time in a long time watching this offense cook if they can protect Daniel Jones. That's the big if. But if Daniel Jones has time,
there's going to be a lot of people jumping on this. You're already starting to see it. You're starting to see people in the mainstream media starting to say, I've seen it a lot now recently.
Reality set in like it did for Laturda. I'm telling you. Now it's getting close, and now they're like, oh.
People are starting to say, maybe I got to think twice about this Daniel Jones.
Maybe if Daniel Jones tears Dallas up week 1, maybe I have to give him his flowers.
Year 2 in the scheme with one of the best play callers in the league. They added Darren Waller. They got Barkley. Daniel Jones has some really good traits. Yeah, maybe I should pump the brakes on my hate for this guy. That's what the mainstream media is starting to do. Just the guy says, DJ's first year, I said he had a prettier ball, tighter spiral than Eli, and I got killed on Facebook. Can't wait to see the offense cook this year. I mean, here's what I'll say, just the guy. Eli Manning had, obviously not now, had a stronger arm than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones definitely has at least a slightly above average arm, though, in terms of arm strength. I think that is a massively underrated part of his game. Last year, it really stood out to me. And I know we didn't take a lot of deep shots. When I measure arm strength, it's not just about throwing the ball 60 yards down the field. It's about being able to put zip on throws into tight windows, off-balance throws. He made throws last year that, at least, in my opinion, 10 to 12 at least starting quarterbacks in the NFL are not capable of making. So I do think Daniel Jones has a better arm in terms of arm strength that people give him credit for. It's not Eli Manning arm strength. Eli Manning had one of the best deep balls in the NFL when he was in his prime, if not the best. He was at a really strong arm, especially when you factor in the windy conditions in the Meadowlands, which I think played a big part as to why the New York Giants were attracted to Eli in the first place. But in terms of accuracy, in terms of a tight spiral, yeah, I think you could certainly make that argument. Eli was not the most accurate guy, at least.
Eli did not have a tightest spiral.
Yeah, no, he did not. He did not. Gundy says, do you think Jahan Dotson is trouble? Yes, I do. I think he's a very good wide receiver. He killed us last year. Yeah, I think he's a very good wide receiver. I think he's your second best wide receiver. I wouldn't even be surprised if he ends up being your best one. I think he's really good. McCorn is obviously the best going into the year, and he's been the best, but Jahan Dotson's got a lot of potential, yes. Big Moo, what's going on, man? Thank you for being a member. He says, can't wait to hear you guys calling the game live. I just shut the volume off on my TV. Well, we appreciate that, man.
Big Moo.
Thank you, Moo, man. I appreciate it, buddy. We appreciate it. And let's see. What about Brian Mitchell? He was another guy. Well, how about Darren Sproles, that little squirt? But
Brian Mitchell wasn't any good, though. So he
was a good return man, but.
You know what I remember about Brian Mitchell? One of Joe Buck's worst calls ever. I think it started the NFC Championship game, and it was just Mitchell down to the 25. What the hell are you doing? Joe Buck is
Joe Buck. The worst. I will say it till the day I die. The worst play-by-play in the history of the NFL is Super Bowl 42. The Eli Manning throw to David Tyree, and the throw to Plaxico. But there's no emotion. Literally the greatest play of all time. Like when you factor in the stage, the point in the game where it's at, the team you're going up against, the greatest regular season team of all time. Joe Buck called the Tyree play as if it was like a throw over the middle for 20 yards in week 7 of the regular season. It's the worst call of all time.
He did that in the 2003 ALCS when Boone hit the walk-off against Boston. And that was an extremely contentious series. It had the whole brawl with Pedro and Don Zimmer, heated rivals, Red Sox. That was the height of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry outside of the 70s. I don't remember. They were pretty, they were rivals in the late 70s too, but I was too young. And all he said was deep to left, and that might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7. That was his call. There was no emotion. Yeah. I don't care who it is. If I'm calling that game and some dude hits a walk-off to go to the World Series, I'm losing my shit. For lack of a better term. I mean, listen, the Yankees have been horrible this year. Yeah, they beat up on Detroit. What would he do? Now, they are bringing the kids up. Jason Dominguez is going to come up tomorrow. Austin Wells. Like, they're bringing up some temper call-ups. They're playing I'll be interested to see how he does. Dominguez has crushed it at every level, and he's only like 19. But, yeah, man, I got to call Domingo Germán's perfect game. I streamed Domingo Germán's perfect game. So that was awesome. That was one of the best moments I've had on YouTube, is being able to stream a perfect game, like call a perfect game. Because how does that happen?
And listen, Baddog, I understand, like, you don't expect the Joe Bucks of the world to have emotion like we do when we call these games, because we're fans. And as a broadcaster, you want to be unbiased. But, you listen to, like, Howard Cosell, for example. I just watched the George Foreman movie on Netflix. Of course, he has the famous Down Goes Frazier. There's tons of emotion in that call. Down goes Frazier. With Joe Buck, there's nothing. He's nonchalant.
What was great? Gary Thorne, one of the most underrated. I mean, go back to the 95 ALDS between the Yankees and Mariners. And it was a great series. It ended in lousy for Yankee fans, but it was such a good series. And his calls in the first 2 games were unbelievable. Vin Scully's the best. Vin Scully didn't need to scream. He was an artist. Yeah. Just the best to ever do any sport. Vin Scully, just the absolute major. I have a lot of inspirations. He's one, no question. John Madden, obviously, Pat Summerall, Mike Francesa. Not that he's a play-by-play guy, but definitely a big influence. Who's the other guys? Bill Raftery. I think he's a fantastic.
Bill Raftery's great. Gus Johnson's fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. Marv Albert, obviously.
Yeah, come on.
What's
his name? How am I forgetting it? The Knicks, Mike Breen is awesome. He's awesome. Him and Clyde together are fantastic.
Yeah, I grew up with John Andres and Marv Albert. So again, being a little older, I grew up in the Rory Sparrow days, the Trent Tucker days of the Knicks. But there was a lot of good ones. So I'm lucky I get to listen to such great play-by-play guys.
And Tommy B says, when our GM said we play those who earn the reps, when asked about Hawkins and why Adoree now plays slot, makes me think Adoree won't be here for long. I don't need him to tell me that. It's just money. It's just unless Adoree's willing to come back for really cheap. It's why I was so adamant, Tommy, about drafting a corner in the first round this year, because I saw the writing on the wall. Adoree's going to be approaching 30 next year. He's had an injury history. They're not going to be looking to pay top dollar for a 30-year-old free agent cornerback, especially when they have the ability to recycle the position in the first round of this year's draft. And the fact that Hawkins looking like he's starting to play good. So unless Adoree takes a really cost-effective contract, which maybe he will, I don't think he'll be back here with this team next year. I think the Giants are clearly planning for the future at that position. And yeah, I mean, listen, if Adoree could help provide us good slot corner play, I don't care if he's not playing on the outside. We've been horrible in the slot for years.
Hopefully we can take that step up this year.
Yeah, well, if he's playing in the slot, it's certainly going to. I mean, you replace Darnay Holmes with him. So we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I mean, I think Dable's shown you since he's taken this job, he doesn't care about status. He doesn't care about what the amount of money a guy's making or where he was drafted. He's going to play the guys in the positions that he'll give him the best chance to win football games. And if they feel Adoree gives this team the best chance to win playing in the slot, that's what they're going to do. I don't know if he's going to play in the slot full time. It may be a week-to-week decision based off of the type of wide receivers they're going up against. But yeah, it's certainly interesting to go into the year having 2 rookies starting on the outside. Nervous, but excited for sure.
Yeah, no question. And they said that last year. And that's how I knew Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay were getting no reps. And it was David Sills. And there was no way that Marcus Johnson and Richie James were more talented than Galladay and Toney, but they earned the right. And Colin Johnson would have made it if he didn't get hurt. So same thing this year. And that's why, somebody asked him in the press conference today, hey, who's your number 1 receiver? And I'm like, he's not. They don't have a number 1 receiver. It's matchups. Like, they're not going and going, this is our number 1 guy. They may develop a number 1 guy, but going into it, your number 1 guy is
Darren Waller. It's Darren Waller.
It's going to depend on, like you said, the best guys are going to play. So maybe one day the best guy is Darren Waller. Maybe one game the best guy is Sterling Shepard, Paris Campbell. Who knows?
I mean, Baddog, you think about those Patriots teams when they didn't have, like, they had Randy Moss for like a 3-year stretch, a 2 or 3 year stretch. But outside of that, their featured weapon was the tight end. It was Rob Gronkowski. And you had, and then you always had pretty good wide receivers, but you didn't have incredible wide receivers. I know Welker had some really good years, but that was more scheme based, and the fact that you had Brady and so on and so forth. They didn't have immensely talented wide receivers, but they had a play caller that knew how to get guys open. They had a quarterback that obviously was great with pre-snap reads, and you don't necessarily, not every offense has to be built the same way. You could have a versatile chess piece like a Darren Waller, a talented running back in the backfield that creates mismatches, all throughout the field, and it can make solid receivers look better. And I think that's the type of offense we're going to have this year. Obviously, I think we'll improve that wide receiving core as we go along, but I definitely think we have the pieces in place to have, if the offensive line is what we're hoping it'll be, a top 10 offense this year. That's what I've said, and it's what I expect if the line does their job this year. So I'm excited about it, man. Yeah,
they'll definitely be good. Ryan, you're right. Jim Nance is another really good announcer. Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, even golf. I mean, he is the golf. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. Like I said, there's a lot of inspirations for me. And somebody mentioned Bill Buckner. If the Red Sox win the World Series in '86, Bill Buckner's a Hall of Famer. In my opinion, he should be a Hall of Famer anyway. You're putting guys like Harold Baines and frickin' Alan Trammell in the Hall of Fame, and Jack Morris. Bill Buckner's a Hall of Famer. Steve Garvey's a Hall of Famer. Dale Murphy's a Hall of Famer. What are you waiting for?
I have no problem with Buckner going in. Obviously, as a Mets fan, I have no problem with it.
It's 2,700 hits. The man's a
But
Hall
if you're going to put Buckner in the Hall of Fame, Keith Hernandez has to be in the Hall of Fame.
Keith Hernandez is a Hall of Famer.
How is Keith Hernandez not in the Hall of Fame?
John Mattingly's a Hall of Famer.
It's ridiculous. Keith Hernandez is probably the greatest defensive first baseman of all time. He has an MVP to his name.
Two-time World Series champ.
Two-time World Series champ. I mean, come on. He was one of the leaders of that Mets team. He was great with the Cardinals. I don't know how Keith Hernandez is not in the Hall of Fame. It's pretty ridiculous.
And it's politics. It all comes down to politics. It happens in the NFL too. It's BS.
Yeah. And Irishman, thank you for being a member for 22 months. He says, although not a Lakers fan, I always enjoyed Chick Hearn's play calling. On another note, go Giants. Go Big Blue. What's going on, Irishman? Thanks for popping in the stream, man.
When I get compared to Chick Hearn, that's extremely humbling, but I'm like, I'm not him. I am not. I mean, you can't pay a guy a better compliment than you're a modern day Chick Hearn, but I don't deserve those kind of accolades. The guy invented the term slam dunk, for crying out loud.
That's insane.
Yeah, absolute legend, Chick Hearn.
Template says, where should I stay in New York City? Don't want to get mugged. New York City's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not the way that it used to be in like the 70s and 80s. But I mean,
don't act like a tourist and you'll be fine.
What'd you say?
Don't act like a tourist and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Template. Here's a tip for you. When you're in Manhattan. Well, yeah. What'd you say, Baddog?
Go to Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan. That's the tourist area. That you want to stay, around Times Square. That's the tourist area. But you want to stand out like a sore thumb at Template. Whenever I go into the city, I don't go up, but I do go sometimes after work because I work in Queens, and sometimes I go into Manhattan to see my friend. Whenever I go into Manhattan, you could tell the tourists by the way that they walk on the street.
They look at everything.
They look at everything, and they stop, and they're like in awe of how people are crossing the street when the sign says not to cross the street. But
And
in New York City,
it's just that's all you hear. It's just it's all you just do your own thing.
in New York City, the people act almost as the cars, and the cars
They
act as
really
the
are. Your
people. You
cars
gotta wait for the
they
people.
work around the people. Yeah, just walk in front of a car. They're not going to run you over. Well, but not if you go with a gaggle. If you go with a group of people, I wouldn't suggest running in front of a cab. But if there's 15 people crossing, 20 people, just get in that group and go.
Yeah.
Car running. It ain't Grand Theft Auto. They're not going to run you down.
No. Ace Avenue says you see a big role for Hyatt week 1 third. No, I mean I do see a role for him. I think we'll try to hit him with at least a few shots, but I don't think he's going to leave the game with. He's not going to be one of the more targeted wide receivers week 1. I'll say that. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me and he will be heavily featured week 1. I'm not going to expect that, but I do think they'll try to hit him with a couple of shots for sure. He's a rookie at the end of the day, and we're deep at the position. Silly Parody says Kevin Harlan makes good calls at big moments. There's so many great broadcasters.
Harlan's a good one. He's a good one.
You know who's great? Now he does the NFL games. He used to be the sideline reporter for the Mets. I think his voice is fantastic for TV calling games. Burkhardt. I think he's great. I think Kevin Burkhardt's great. He's relatively young, but he does. I think he does it with Olsen, Greg Olsen. He's paired up with him, but I think he's a good broadcaster.
The hell else was I going to say? There's another one that was really good to come to me, but there's a lot of good ones.
Tommy B says Nance wants to push Romo off a cliff. He's awful.
I don't think Romo's bad. I think Romo's a good analyst.
I think Romo brings a different perspective, which I appreciate when I'm watching the game. I could definitely see somebody being annoyed by him at times, but I think he brings it. I'm excited to see Brady. Brady's doing it this year, right, with Fox?
Is he?
I think somebody in the chat let me know. I remember he signed that contract last year, and then he came back and played. Is Brady calling the games this year? I'm excited. I don't know if he's going to be good or not because we've never really gotten a glimpse at Brady's personality off the field, and obviously that's a big thing when it comes to broadcasting. I'm excited to see Brady. He's getting paid.
Brady's the guy. So
he's in 2024. Okay, he's doing it next year. Okay, he starts in 2024.
I'll tell you, it was John Miller. John Miller. I used to do Sunday Night Baseball with Joe Morgan.
Yes.
Hey, that's one of my favorites. There goes whatever, there goes Johnny Damon. I always loved John Miller. Ran into him at Yankee Stadium too. I remember it was the Hurricane game. Tampa Bay came up in 2004. They were supposed to play a doubleheader, but Tampa had a hurricane down there. We were on our way to the stadium. And we're like, do we keep going? We stopped at White Plains. We're like, do we keep going? Do we go to this? Is it going to get canceled? But I remember we ran into John Miller, in the mezzanine level. He was getting high, he had a tray full of hot dogs. And my buddy just goes, look at this hitman. Didn't know it was him. He had a white shirt, a black tie on. We're like, it's John Miller. That is John Miller, because a lot of times they're like, hey, look at there was such and such, and it really isn't. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, that's freaking John Miller. That was awesome.
The one thing I always remember about John Miller, because obviously I would watch the Mets a lot when they'd be on ESPN, he would always go over the top in his pronunciation of Carlos Beltran's name.
Yes.
Carlos Beltran. It would be it was so unnecessary. I always remember that about him. But yeah, he was a good play caller as well.
That's right. New York Sports Hub. Adios, Senor Pelota. Way back there. Gone. He's great. John Miller is great.
Geno Smith on schedule. What do you mean by that? But are we playing Geno Smith? If that's what you're asking, yeah, we're playing in week 4.
Week 4.
Playing
at week home. 4. Prime time.
I think we're gonna beat them. I think we're gonna beat them this time around. We got extra time to prepare for that game. We're at home. They're traveling across. Yeah. I think we're gonna win that game.
We got that one. Richie James ain't there to fumble 2 punts.
Yeah, I got us beating Seattle this year. Let's see. We're going to hang out for about another 5-10 minutes, but we appreciate all you guys for being here. Thank you guys for all the support you guys always show. Football is only a week away. Giants football in 11 days. Regular season football starts in a week from tonight, which is insane. Pat Mahomes defending his crown against the Detroit Lions. Should be a good game, fun game. Detroit's a team that a lot of people are hyping up this year.
They don't play Philly week 1. I know they play Philly this year, but usually that's how they would do it. Usually a rematch of the Super Bowl. I'm surprised.
Well, yeah, if they're playing each other. Yeah. I know the defending champ always plays on Thursday night,
I
but
was surprised it wasn't Philly. Week
yeah, I
one.
agree. Would have been a more They could have chose. Yeah, I think I agree.
I mean, it's like week 8 or week 9. They play in prime time anyway.
They could have chose maybe the Chargers. Herbert. That's an interesting matchup. I guess the Lions are kind of on the up and up, but I agree with you that the Philly matchup would have been more exciting.
Mhm.
Let's see what we got. Why Aaron Rodgers run his back? Who cares? Let him run his mouth. Luann, what's going on? Thanks for popping in the stream. Let's see. We'll talk to you guys for a couple more minutes, and then we're going to close it out. Lions are such a weird choice for week 1. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a pretty big market. It's a team that's on the come up. They're exciting, I guess. A lot of teams are hyping them up this year, but yeah, it is a little bit of a weird choice.
There's some weird primetime game. We got guess the primetime game we get again this year. Washington and Chicago.
Yeah, that's not great. Not great. I will say the 2 New York week 1, those are really good primetime games. You got obviously us versus the Cowboys Sunday night, and then the Jets and Bills Monday night. Like those are good primetime games week 1 for New York for sure. That just shows you New York football's come a long way. For us to be opening the season on primetime, both teams, that says a lot. Actually, well, to be fair,
how come the Jets Giants aren't primetime?
Should have been.
What are we doing?
Should have been. I will say we did open up the season on primetime against the Steelers a couple of years ago, but I think that was that was Sunday night or Monday night. I think it was Monday night. It was Monday night. That was a bad game. Jones threw a couple of picks in that game.
Yeah, in the red zone.
Yeah.
Things to come that year.
Let's see. Aaron Rodgers should be worried about. Yeah, I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers. I'm not worried about the Jets. I'll worry about them week 8.
Right.
I hope that gets sandwiched between Dex and Big Cat. I don't think there's a quarterback this year, Bad Dog. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL this year with more pressure than Dak Prescott. Maybe I'm forgetting a quarterback, but you're talking about a guy that's coming up on the end of his contract. He's only got 1 more year on his contract after this year. You're talking about a guy who's only won 2 playoff games in his entire career with one of the more talented rosters in the NFL around him. I think the Cowboys are. He's coming up on the end. He's got to have a big year this year, in my opinion, Dak. He needs to start producing when it matters in the playoffs. I think he's got a ton of pressure this year for the Cowboys, for sure.
We Law Nation last night sitting there talking about how Dak ain't had any weapons. And I'm sitting there going, I'm like, who are you talking to? I gave him one of these. I gave Law one of these.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott in his career has had Des Bryant, who when he had him early on was one of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL early on. He had Ezekiel Elliott, who was arguably the best running back in football for a 2 or 3 year stretch. He had Amari Cooper, who might be the best route runner in the NFL when he was in his prime. He's got CeeDee friggin' Lamb. He's had Jason friggin' Witten. What are you talking about?
Listen.
And by the way, his best weapon, he had the best offensive line in the sport.
Right. And then he said, well, he didn't have good coaching. He had Jason Garrett. So Daniel Jones has nothing, and he had to deal with Jason Garrett for 2 years. I was like, who are you talking to here? But no.
Oh, my God.
That's very extreme.
Oh, my God. Big Moo. Thank you very much. He says, what is your guys' upcoming YouTube? During the week, I'll be busy. This weekend, I'm going to stay low. There's not a whole lot to talk about. But the week of, I'll be busy. I'll be live a lot. Probably starting Monday, Tuesday, you'll start seeing some content from me. Obviously, be on Bad Dog's channel next week on Friday. Friday, we're doing on Friday. I'll be on Bad Dog. Saturday, I'm going to do a stream on my channel the night before. I'm going to have JD Sports Talk on my channel. We're going to do a stream the night before. I'll be live Thursday night for the primetime game. Obviously, we'll be talking some Giants as well. I'm trying to get. I actually asked Law Nation. He hasn't responded yet, but I'm trying to get a Cowboys YouTuber on week 1 to preview the first game. I want to try to do that every week this year, where I get a different YouTuber on from the team we're going up against, just to get a look at their team. If not him, I'll reach out to somebody else. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to jump into a lot of content with you guys this week for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what my schedule is this weekend. Who
This
knows?
weekend you keep it, so there's not much to. Yeah,
It's kind
still,
of just fly by the seat of my pants. I know I ain't be live tomorrow. I got my draft.
this is the week. This is
Saturday's
the week.
usually night with the family.
Yeah.
Sunday.
I think this is the weekend you don't do anything because for the
Right,
next.
the Giants are off. They're taking a couple of days off. I've been live like every day this week. Even my wife's like, "You've been down there a lot." I'm like, "I know it's the opening season, so we'll be live with Patty next week, probably."
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Well,
This is the week where I think this weekend, this is the 1 week you're not going to have Giants football for the next, hopefully, 20 weeks.
right.
So lay low this week. Relax this weekend.
Yes.
Let's see what we got. Let's play like crazed dogs, Mr. Taylor. That's the greatest quote of all time. Greatest Giants quotes of all time. That's up there. Of course, the Eli Manning retirement speech. Once a Giant, only a Giant. Also, the Eli Manning saying he was an elite quarterback. That always stands out to me. There's several others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but Plaxico Burress predicting the final score before the Super Bowl and then Brady laughing at him.
Yeah. Well, you're going to score 17 points? Okay. You didn't score 17. You scored 14.
Yeah. Oh, Michael Strahan on the sideline.
14, believe it, and it will happen. He said, I might not even believe that myself.
That's definitely one of the best sound clips.
And of course, you're going to stomp their ass out.
The Jim Fossil guarantee when we went, rest in peace, when we were 7-4, this team, I'm pushing all my chips into the middle of the table. If this was a poker, whatever he said, that's up there too. That I got goosebumps when he said that when I was younger.
Well, Parcells had a good one too. So you're seeing Washington for a third time. Are you scared? Let me tell you what I'm scared of. I'm scared of spiders, snakes, and the IRS. Are you not afraid of Washington? Well, they're in our league. It's competition. I like competition. I remember that one. I'm scared of spiders, snakes, and the IRS. That's for Washington. Well, Washington's in our league competition. I look forward to that. So that was a good one. Parcells probably a ton of good ones.
Oh, Parcells was great with the media.
He was awesome.
When I go back, and I remember him obviously when he was with the Jets too, but he was great with the media. Let's see. I got to look at the tape. Oh, don't even remind McAdoo. That was McAdoo. That was Judge did that too. Oh, don't even remind me of those guys. That would be a good video idea with editing. All the best. That is a good video idea. I'd have to think about that, but yeah, I mean, so obviously a bunch that we mentioned would be up there. I'd have to think about that one though. That is a good video idea. I like that. Maybe that's something you do in the off season when there's not a lot to talk about. Let's see. We got Justin Tuck's pregame speech before Super Bowl 49. Yeah, that's another good one. Fossil was a great coach. I don't want to use the term great, but he was a very good coach. Fossil was a very good coach for the Giants. Giants have had good luck with coaches for the most part, outside of this 4 or 5 year stretch before.
Yeah, after they fired Coughlin, we had a 6-year stretch that wasn't very good.
Yeah,
but now
Fossil was good for 7 years. Coughlin was great for about 10 plus years to 11 years, whatever it was. Parcells, So we've had some good coaches.
Our coordinators have been the best ever. I mean, Belichick was a coordinator, Landry was a coordinator, Lombardi was a coordinator. The Giants have the best coaching tree in the history of football.
Sean Payton. Don't forget Sean Payton.
Right. The greatest coaches ever came from the New York Giants.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Landry,
no, I mean,
Lombardi,
we had
Belichick, Coughlin.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, Peyton won a Super Bowl. John Fox was in a Super Bowl.
What a staff that was. What a staff that was. Fossil, Peyton, and Fox. That was a great staff. Yep. We've had some good staffs. This one we got now is pretty damn good.
Got some good ones.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what we got. Yeah, there you go. John Fox and Peyton as coordinators. Yeah. That was a fun team, that 2000 team. That's one of my top 2 or 3 favorite Giants teams of all time. I love that team. But guys, we are going to close it out. I want to say thank you to each and every Spags. How could you not mention Spags? Steve Spagnuolo, great defensive coordinator.
He was a good coordinator. He was not a good head coach.
Not a good head coach, but great defensive coordinator. But thank you to all you guys for all the support you guys always show. You guys are fantastic. Yeah, like I said, probably Monday. I'll probably have my schedule prediction video up Monday, maybe. I want to get a game preview video up with a Cowboys content creator, hopefully on Wednesday. I'll reach out to somebody, try to get them on. What'd you say, Baddog?
I was going to say that was one thing. Law Nation and I are supposed to do That's something else that's going to be on that NFC Super Friends thing is when our teams match up, we're going to have
like a stream or something.
Yes, we're gonna not a stream. It'll probably be like a recording, maybe live down the road, but we'll do like a video, like a 30-minute, 45-minute preview of the game. I'll let Law Nation know that the Cowboys had some. And yes, I will absolutely. I have a lot of going on through my head in the video I want to make, just telling you why I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's long overdue.
That's a good topic. That's a good topic.
Hate it.
Kalen says, "Sup, K. Horan, one of my favorite play-by. He's good too. There's so many good play-by-plays. I think Gus Johnson might be my favorite today. I think he's fantastic. But and I should have mentioned the Mets. I think the Mets have their play-by-play overall. There's their team, Darling, Gary, Keith. I think they're fantastic too. But guys,
broadcast crew sucks.
Who?
The Yankees broadcast crew's trash.
Yeah,
I like Paul O'Neill, but
I'm not a big Michael Kay fan either. I'm just not. I'm not. And I'm not a big Sterling fan on the radio either.
Sterling has grown on me. He's like 85. He's got a great sense of humor. Got hit with the ball, and he's in there with got hit with the ball right in the face, and he finishes the thing. Guy's a trooper. And the other day, one came right back at him when he went to catch it, and he goes, "Nope, getting out of the way." So he's kind of grown on me.
I mean, he's entertaining. He's definitely entertaining.
He's grown. He's done it for so long, and that man just keeps on trucking. So
he loves doing it. He loves doing it.
He used to call the Hawks games. He was in Atlanta, sports commentator in the 80s. Yep.
Oh, I did not know that.
He did the Braves. He did the Hawks. Yeah.
Huh. Did not know that. But guys, thank you guys for all the support. We're gonna kick Dallas's ass week 1. I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. We'll see you on Bad Dogs Friday to preview the game, and then of course calling the game on Sunday before we flip back to my channel for week 2, as we always alternate. So appreciate all you guys. You guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you guys for showing up. Had over 800 people in here tonight. Can't believe it, on a dead night. Not much to talk about, but you
Next
guys
week, let's have 1,800 in here.
Oh, dude, we're gonna blow the top off. We're gonna blow the top off.
Right?
But Bad Dog,
Jill and I got to take the top off the defense, like Randy Moss used to. Real quick, Sam Rosen is another good broadcaster for the Rangers, and he does football for the Giants too. I like Sam Rosen. But yes, guys and girls are awesome. We are really close. When we're doing this show next week, we're going to have football that weekend. So listen, enjoy your Labor Day weekend. I know I'm going to. So enjoy time with your friends and family. Take the weekend off. Like Chris said, man, it'll probably be light load for me on YouTube. There may be a stream. Who knows? I mean, I never know, but not a ton. Just like I said, enjoy the weekend. You guys and girls are the best. I'm excited for Giants football. It's been a long time since I've really been this gung-ho about it. Now, I was gung-ho going into 2021. Let's hope we don't have a repeat performance. But I just feel like this coaching staff, the front office, they have all their ducks in a row. They've given us reason to believe. We've seen players improve massively. And I expect this team to be very good this year. And hopefully you guys and girls are pumped up to whoop Dallas's ass, because it is coming. We're bringing the lumber. I'm going to smack them right in the ass, that thing. So anyway.
We're going to make Mr. McCarthy contemplate retirement. That's what we're going to do.
Prescott contemplate retirement.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's going to be. He's going to leave in a body bag in that one. So we'll leave you with that. With the Entertainment Talking Sports, your boy, the Bad Dizzle. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We out. Peace.